Good morning, everyone. For those who are joining us, we'd like to say welcome. I can see from the comments that some they can't hear anything, so let us just confirm that you can hear me. So if you can hear me, can you signal either in the comment box that you can hear what I'm saying? Can we have a signal that you can hear loud and clear? Oh, excellent, very good. Okay, so thank you very much. I've been reading the comments, and I'd just like to say, first of all, I welcome everyone. The program, like with all things, I saw a comment from Dave, and well done, Dave. Thank you very much for being, that's Dave K, for being as forthright as you are. But I don't believe that our attitude remains the same, and I thank you for pushing that. At 11:30 on the dot, the floor opened, and that's why you were allowed in at 11:30, which means that integrity remains the same. Our speakers will be coming in from 12 o'clock. Between now and 12, we are welcoming people so that we have everyone in. Already we have about 1,500 people that have been registered for this webinar, which means that we have to allow everyone in so that most people are, if this wasn't a virtual program, you would say that most people are already sat by the time the speakers come. Today is going to be a very, very, very interesting day. I know that for most of you who are here, you're here because you are interested in what Nigeria has to offer, but more importantly, you're interested in what you have to offer. The symposium itself is talking into our future, into the future of Nigeria. We talk about 2060, and over the last couple of weeks, we have gone through the comments section and we have seen all sorts of comments. There are those who are skeptics, who don't believe that anything good is going to happen to Nigeria within the next 60 years. There are those who are only interested in today and have said as much, just interested in knowing what exactly is happening today. They don't care about the future. They don't care about what is happening. So for all of you who are joining the panel today, we just want to say welcome. We want to say welcome and just be ready. Just be ready for everything moving forward. To Olasheni saying that it's a lame excuse, please, again, you are welcome to all the comments, but we are being very truthful and we're being open and we're being transparent. If anyone knows me well, you know that I don't make excuses. I speak when we fall short, we say we fall short. But the truth of the matter is that the speakers come in at 12 and you will see them in at 12. I'm so sorry for everybody who, if the information did not go out clearly, please forgive us if there was a miscommunication. 11:30 was when we opened up, and that's why we're here at 11:30, but we will start formally with the first panelists coming in at noon. Again, I'm repeating that clearly for everybody to hear that by noon, we will be here. But then I was also just keeping everyone involved and just keeping them informed about some of the back comments that we've had over the last couple of weeks. Some, when we talk about Nigeria, as you will see in the comment section coming through, that there are many people who are not satisfied. They're not satisfied about the country. They're not satisfied about the way the country is run, and they're not satisfied about many who are in position of leadership and who can make a position to change. We see this happening all the time. And that's why we're here. We're here not because we believe that we have the answers, but we're here because we believe that you have the answer, that you are forthright, that you will speak your mind, that you will make very, very positive contributions as to how we fix the country. We're speaking about a time in the future, and that time in the future really starts now. Everything we do from here on is going to affect us moving forward into the time that we're seeing. And so I truly, truly would like you to just be relaxed, be true, be open, be honest. And If you are not happy about anything, please say so. Like those who have already said that they were not happy because they thought that someone said he was in Washington, D.C., that he did not wake up early in Washington, D.C. to come and sit in the waiting room. I apologize. You don't have to sit in the waiting room. Please, I have already said that it's going to start at 12 o'clock. That's when the panelists will start. Between now and then, you're welcome to wait and chat with us. You're welcome to go and have a cup of coffee and come back at just before 12. But I assure you, at noon, your panelists will be here and we would start. All the same, with just some Zoom pointers, as you would see, we have about 8 speakers coming in today, and they're going to be speaking about different parts of our future, things that concern them, things that they are absolutely, well, we'll just call them experts in all of that. You are going to certainly have a lot of questions, and one of the best ways for your questions to come across would be for you to write it in the chat column. And already I can see that people are putting in questions already. Why is it difficult to achieve the Nigerian constitution and rule of law? So those kind of questions and all of that, please put them in there. The administrative section of NLI is going to pick up those questions, and the moderator will have them and he will pass them on to the speakers so that they can address it if they have the time. If they don't, as many questions as can be answered will be answered directly. There's a Q&A section within at the bottom of your screen. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you will see a Q&A question box. If you put in your questions there, the questions can either be answered directly to you by any of the panelists, or it can be answered live for everyone, or it can be answered to those who take a look into the Q&A section. So please put in your questions there. I want to thank Reverend Yomi Ademi because he's already put in a question. There's an anonymous attendee. I would like for those who are coming in under an anonymous scenario that please put your name, it would help. You're asking some really great questions, and it would be good to know that the person who is asking is also not a spirit and it's a human being as well. So I can see great questions that you're asking. So if you are the one behind the name anonymous attendee, please change your name on your screen so that we know who we're addressing, who we're responding to. Ayolua Legbe, I see your question. Thank you very much. Chidume, again, I see your question. Well, I see your suggestion. That's a suggestion there. And I thank you very much for that. So again, the questions are going into the Q&A section. And I really, really want to thank everyone who is taking part in this. So we continue to have people joining in, and we're welcoming them one after the other. So somebody was asking if his video is on. No, your video is not on. You don't need to be, once you're a participant in that, most of your videos are going to be, all of your videos are going to be turned off. The only videos that you would see are the videos from your from the panelists who will be taking the floor and who will be speaking. And so again, if you have any questions, if there are things that you want to clarify, we'll use this period to do so, just to clarify. But outside of that, again, in another 9 minutes, we'll be starting clearly. Also, I would like to, in webinars that I have come across, in Zoom meetings that we have participated in, please, if you would like to introduce yourself as well and what you do, and you want to introduce either your business, just a quick line about something that you will do. This is a networking platform. as much as we're here to discuss about Nigeria's future, we also want people to build relationships, to strengthen their relationships, to let each other know what they do. You may be surprised that out there may be someone who needs exactly what you have and who is able to assist you. So please put in your, I see, for example, Dr. Paul Oyarenwa, forgive me if I have not spelled your name, if I have not pronounced your name properly. It says his Kairos Youth Empowerment Initiative. So thank you very much about that. So please let us have your, if you want to, you can put in your name, a quick description of who you are and what you do, and then we'll take it on from there. Again, you're all welcome to today's symposium. For those who came in early, who started in right from 11:30 and have been on the panel since then, would like to say thank you very much. Thank you for coming in bang on time. We're expecting the panelists and the speakers to be here and begin the panel session in another 7 minutes. My name is Tony Cole. I'm the convener of today's program with Nehemiah Leadership Institute, which is a part of Team Nehemiah of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. The moderator today is Mr. Deji West, and although it's his name you see on the screen, that's not my name. He is the moderator, and he will be taking over from me very, very shortly. And thank you for everyone who is putting in what they do and introducing themselves. Thank you very much. It also gives us a very, very clear understanding that we have a wide array of expertise here. So thank you. And don't forget, please, Ayola Ajeleti, I hope your question has gone into the Q&A section as well. Don't just keep your questions in the chat room. Please move your questions to the Q&A section as well. It is extremely important. For that's where those questions can be answered directly by everyone. So thank you very, very much. Okay, so having said that, let me go through and look at the introductions and just the different people who are here and just thank each one of them. Okay. Right, so I see Insight Care Services Limited has put his website. That's Reverend Yomi Adeyemi. Thank you very much. That's very clever. So please have your website there. That's excellent. Like I said, we see one of our speakers has just come in, His Excellency Donald Duke. Thank you very much, sir, for coming in, and you're welcome. Excellent of you. We appreciate you and appreciate everything you've been doing. Can you confirm, sir, that you can hear me loud and clear? If you just wave or raise your hand, let's just make sure that the audio is well. Excellent. Well done, sir. We told, just to give you some information, sir, we had explained to the people who are coming in that we will be starting, that the panelists will be showing up at noon, but that we had opened the floor at 11:30, and I got some people who were very upset that Nigeria doesn't change. We said 11:30, and here we are. People have come in at 11:30, and we're telling them 12 o'clock. So I'm glad to show Auntie Obi, welcome. Thank you very much. I can see you. You're welcome. Uncle Donald, welcome. So just like I told them that we will start at 12 o'clock and our panelists will start showing up by then. So I'm glad that you're here to just prove us right that we have a Nigeria where people actually believe in timing. So while we're waiting for the next 4 minutes, I'll just continue picking up on the different people who have shown up in our panel. I see Wilfred Zinzo, a farmer and a music consultant. Awesome, awesome. Would like to see some videos of you farming and singing at the same time. That's beautiful. Femi Longe, Haulage and Logistics Management, you're welcome. Unigbinde David, a Director of Monitoring and Evaluation at the Ministry of Budget and Planning. Thank you. You will be able to verify some of the things that will be said as far as the government is concerned. And I'm glad that you're here. So we have people from not just from the private sector, but also from the public sector. Well done. I can see we have pastors from RCCG here as well. Victor Eron Mene, you're welcome. First degree consulting net. Again, I've seen that people are putting up their website so that can be followed. So well done for those who are doing that. I can't remember the first person to do it, but I can see others are doing so. So please put up your website. It's a form of networking, a form of communication, and you can never tell who is here and who can network with you. So a clear line as to who you are, what you do will help. I see someone has come in from Rwanda, University of Rwanda College of Medicine. Awesome. That's Kayode Karim. Thank you very much for coming in. Rwanda is a very, very beautiful place, and you're welcome. Thank you for showing up. Engineer, what did I just see? Engineer Peter Agene. Welcome. Gas field development. You're welcome. I see the governor's office is linking up. Again, bang on time. Thank you very much. You're welcome, Your Excellency. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate your being a stickler for time. You're very, very welcome. We will be listening to you very shortly. Within the next 2 minutes, we'll be going live. We're just making sure that everyone who is out there is linking up and coming in. Thank you very much. Enobong SCN, we see you, Royal Bite, a culinary service based in Akwa Ibom. Awesome, welcome. You're welcome here. David Onobanjo. David Onobanjo is Managing Director of Grief Nigeria. I don't know what Grief does, but he's put in there his website, so you can click on that and you find out exactly what he does. Mr. Baba, I hope it's a Mr. Baba one day. It's a human nutritionist. Awesome, well done. We're going to need more of you. If an NGO is here, Amos Oboyibo from Victoria, Australia. Wow, someone has come all the way from Australia. This is awesome. You're welcome. Thank you for showing up and thank you for coming. Okay, we have a minute to go and I will be handing over at this point to the moderator of the session to take us on from there. Pastor Deji, are you here? Are you ready to take over? Okay, while we're there. Dr. Deji West. Susan, we need to unmute you. Thank you. Sorry, we seem to be having just a slight connection problem. I can see that Susan is on and ready to speak. Susan, you're highlighted. As soon as the audio is connected, please, you can start. Okay, we seem to be having a slight challenge with audio. I can see that Susan is ready, but there seems to be an audio challenge. So in the meantime, while we're continuing to sort that out, I will just continue briefly. Okay, again, I see the questions that are going into the Q&A section, section, sorry. So please continue to load your questions there. The panelists will go in there and they will respond to those questions. The ones that can be responded to directly by typing, they will do that there. The ones that will be answered live, they will come on live to answer from there. For those who are coming up in the chat room, we continue to welcome you. Please just bear with us. There's an audio delay from the studio. As you can see, we have we have Susan, who is ready, but we're having a challenge with the audio. So just waiting for that to be connected so that she can take up. His Excellency is sat and ready. He's already in place and ready to open up. So just give us a few minutes. Okay, you're welcome to our symposium. God bless everyone that has been here. We're having some technical issues from the studio, so I will be taking over from here until that is connected. Again, we don't want to keep everyone waiting. I've seen that His Excellency Sanwo-Olu is already in the house. He is opening us up this morning with his keynote address, and I just want to, if his video link can come up so that we know that they're ready, and I will be introducing him to kick in. Excellent. You're welcome, Your Excellency. God bless you. Thank you for always being bang on time. My apologies that we're having some issues with studio, but please, you have the floor. The Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, please take the floor, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Tonye. I can see you've got over 400 attendees already, so that's a very large number to start with. And to say good morning to everyone, especially I can see my brother, Excellency, former Governor of Cross River State, Mr. Donald Duke here. Thank you very much for joining us. And I've seen, the retinue of very strong audience that you have put together. Dr. Obi-Ezekwesili, she's also here somewhere. I'll extend my greetings to her. And to the teeming youth, who we're speaking to this morning, over 400 of them. I've joined in, spiritual fathers. I'm sure somewhere, maybe Pastor Adeboye will also listening in. I bring you good greetings from Lagos. The reason why, beyond the fact that I also want to come early, is I had to step out from a budget session. So we are just putting together our 2021 budget, right? So we've got a team of about 30, 40 of us, just looking at how do we create, a Lagos of tomorrow for ourselves. How do we action out a plan, a developmental plan for the next 5 years and 10 years, even beyond when we're in government, and so that exercise, it's very, very important for me. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to address this gathering of very intelligent opinion leaders and shapers of our nation. I'm particularly proud of the work that is being done by the Nehemiah team of the Redeemed Christian Church of Nigeria and the Nehemiah Leadership Institute. Your accomplishment exemplify what we're capable of achieving when we're not afraid of our proactive take to lead, especially where radical changes are necessary. It's a political historian, James McGregor, that described the concept of transformational leadership as a particular leadership model in which a leader's clear vision and strong personality inspire team members to change and to exceed their own expectations, unquote. You have asked me to take on and talk on a topic that encapsulates the diverse issues that involve transformational leadership in a democratic government that we have here in Nigeria, and what are the implications for our socio-economic position by the year 2060 for Nigeria. This, in my view, is a well thought out team, given the fact that in 2015, the African Union adopted an agenda called the 2063 Agenda, which was way back in 2015. So you can see that the topic that was pushed forward is really not new, it's not strange, for the AU in 2015 to have set an agenda for Africa called the Agenda 2030, which is meant to be value-based and for us to have a shared common destiny. In Nigeria, the federal government has also taken the lead by implementing United Nations SDG goals, which is the Sustainable Development Goals, which is meant to end poverty, which is meant to be protecting the planet, and which is meant to be guaranteeing a peaceful and prosperous years for all of us by the year 2030. So meaning the goals and the objective of SDG as set out by the year 2030 is around reducing poverty, giving us a clear chance at guaranteeing a prosperous year for all of us by 2030. And so for us in Lagos State, these were also domesticated amongst our 37 LCD and 20 local government. to ensure that we have a motive that will address our social economic needs of every Lagosian, to inspire them to get about participatory democracy, since the collective goal of any government, it's good governance. So we believe that what speaks to the challenges and expectations of Lagosians and the SGD also speak to what we had said we'll be doing as a government. As part of my own background, I've had the opportunity to have worked extensively in the banking industry. I've had the opportunity to work in the oil and gas industry. I've had the opportunity to work even as an entrepreneur before getting into a position of leadership as an administrator and as a public person. So I must say that over those years, which is about 2.5 decades now, I have actually gained sufficient experience that irrefutably nexus between what we call a transformational leader and the sweeping economic challenges that comes with that leadership position. So therefore, experience has taught me that with responsible leadership, with respect to the interest of our people that is consistent with citizens' engagement, a honest communication with the right feedback mechanism, it's meant to actualize and help us, to be able to not only achieve a 2030 sustainable development goals, but put Nigeria at the stance of becoming a world power and one of the most developed nations by 2060. So that's a tall order that we all need to fill in and put in the bracket. Example of Singapore, which we all know, it's something that comes to play, and it's something that all of us can still, take. We all knew what Singapore used to look like in the 60s, and we know what the Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew was able to do to economically re-engineer that country and take it from a third world over a 25 to 30 year period to what we see today, as one of the giants, as a city-state in the world. He recognized the importance of instilling a sense of national identity in every Singaporean. And I'm sure it's one of the hallmarks of a transformational leader that has the ability to advocate a futuristic but powerful vision for his citizens. So that's one of, in my view, one of the very strong leadership traits that we all can look through and see what has happened over the decades. This is some of the things that is inspiring us in Lagos. And of course, at the risk of also sounding biblical, right, we also know the story of Nehemiah, as is well conceptualized in the Bible, and how Nehemiah in himself, if we read through the book of Nehemiah, define transformational leadership. And so for us in Lagos, we're looking at all of those lines. In the first chapter of that book, Nehemiah acknowledged that there was a problem. The walls of Jerusalem were in ruins and needed to be immediately rebuilt because the city was defenseless. He saw that it was an opening where people can come in from any part, and he realized that he needed to do something. This stirred him as a burden, and he took up the task of rebuilding the wall of the city. Through prayers, through hard work, and even with the opposition from several quarters, Nehemiah was ready to give up his job as a king cupbearer, despite the prerequisite attachment, all of the things that are attached to working with a king. He left all of that behind, and he just wanted to make his people and God happy. So if you see it in context of the organizers of these events, Nehemiah Leadership Initiative, and reading that book and putting it in the context of what we learned from that book, it's something that is very instructive. And so the story of Nehemiah is very instructive, like I said, as a leadership style that captures our approach to governance, especially for us in Lagos State. We have a burden to ease the suffering of our people, and we're ready to do the work that is needed to accomplish this. Our motivational factor is the people that we serve, and their well-being is very important for us. We recognize that when we take the lead, our people will toe the path of participatory governance, which will engender a collaborative transformation for Lagos. So what we're saying is that they all just need us to take that lead. We believe that the followership will work with us and they will be engaged in government, because what we want at the end of the day is we want a participatory means of governance where people will have a say, will have a voice, and will have, people that they can also look up to. In the invitation letter that you sent to my office, you alluded to our state's success in managing the COVID-19 pandemic. I certainly need to attribute our progress to our recognition of the pandemic as a collective war. It's not a war that I, as the incident commander, has won alone. It's not a war that Lagos State Ministry of Health had won alone, but it's a war that we believe that all of us working together are defeated. And our strategy during that war period, which we are not fully out of, were what we call the 3 Cs. We used the pandemic to give us an opportunity for us to communicate transparently to our citizens on a regular basis. That's the first C. We use also the war to collaboratively work with both the private sector and the organized public sector, meaning that we were able to engage, everybody from the civil society to the very organized private sector, to every citizen that wanted to participate, in bringing down, the positivity level of the pandemic. And I dare say that we had also, over the period, transparently acknowledged everybody that has supported us in the fight of the COVID-19. And thirdly, we also ensure, that we work, ensuring that we don't only communicate, we don't collaborate, but we ensure that we're committed, and our commitment is working with NCDC, working with the federal government, and working with everybody. And that's what we've seen in effect that, and of course, we pray a lot. That's why we see that whilst we're working with the science, we're also trying to balance the economy and the security aspects coming out of the pandemic. So like I said, it was a leadership style that had Hydra-headed monster. The COVID was something that has never happened, in the whole world before. And so we needed to come up with an A team. And we're indeed lucky that at least in Lagos, we've been able to stand, but we're tracking even as it engages, going forward. So this sense of must never be caught napping, So what do I mean? As a leader, you must continually be able to know and be able to engage yourself that you don't know what will be on your plate, the week and the week after. So proactiveness is so important. So the essence, therefore, is what's Nigeria's current democratic leadership, and what is the implication by the year 2060? One of the best truths about the reality of our country is that we do not lack brilliant ideas. I mean, we usually have the brilliant minds everywhere in the room with the best national building intentions for Nigeria. The issue at stake all the time is how do we translate these good intentions to visible growth, to economic balance, and socio-economic advancement for our people. That, in my view, is always the challenge that we have. We are always blessed with fantastic laws, we have fantastic ideas, but really is the how, is the when do you do it, is the, so once you do it, what is the impact, and how do you ensure that it is the greatest good for the greatest number at all of the time? How do we get our government and our leaders to be consistently accountable and be responsive and be able to stand and hold themselves accountable at all times? These are some of the things that we need to continue to ask ourselves. I believe that this symposium provides an avenue for us to tell ourselves the truth in order for us to chart a developmental trajectory for our nation and for ourselves. I believe in the unity of our country, Nigeria. However, this unity is being threatened by the issues of insecurity that we see, around almost every region in the country. The dwelling, oil revenues, the crude oil revenues that has not been stable for the last couple of years. Ethnic and tribal unrest that we continue to see amongst ourselves. A struggling economy, and just a general despondency that we see all around the country. The best leadership approach, in my view, to solving these issues should be one which installs a sense of nationhood in every Nigerian, a growth mindset in the entire populace, and a sense of duty in the electoral process, which will enhance a collaborative means of government to end what we see as a multidimensional poverty level that is ravaging every part, of this country. And I believe that this is because the objective of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is meant to end multidimensional poverty in our system. And we're saying that by year 2030, which, I mean, is just less than 10 years, Nigeria's poverty level, which still currently stands at about 40, according to National Bureau of Statistics, in 2019. And we're looking at a multidimensional poverty index of about 22.5 against our population, right? And I think countries, like other African countries, Nigeria still ranks 33 out of 55 countries with a score of about 47%. This data does not make sense if indeed, our leaders and people in authority, cannot make a full, matrix of it. Mo Ibrahim Index of Africa still continue to say that Nigeria, poverty index, we're number 33 out of 54 African countries, which scores us less than 50% of overall level of governance, that we are. Meaning that, yes, we see ourselves as the biggest, economy in Africa. We see ourselves as the giants in the sun. But if we compare ourselves with indices that they used to compare every other nation in the continent, we still fall below, a lot of the countries that are even in Africa, not to talk of in the world. So the consequence of this is that we need to have a major leadership challenge that first is to get our people to buy into the idea of a prosperous Nigeria, a future that is prosperous for every citizen, where all lives are equal, irrespective of what your background is, irrespective of what ethnic dimension you come from, irrespective of what opportunity life has given to you. We must ensure that every citizen of our nation, our leadership must be able to give them that opportunity to become something for their future. And what do I mean? For us in Lagos, we'll continue to look at our human capital index. How do we drive down poverty? Health and education as a strong component, for us to improve our human capital index and reduce poverty out of our system and bring, about a positive change that our people will believe in. We believe that the SDG goals are being set out, by 2030 could be one of the ways that will set up, on that trajectory. And so for us to be able to achieve that by 2020 is for us to have what we call a sustainable, achievement program through ensuring that we have the right set of leadership, not only now, not only in 2030, but a framework that can help us beyond all of that and take us to the years of 2060 and beyond. So to go back to the question, where will Nigeria be by the year 2060? It is clear that we all have an idea of what kind of country, what kind of Nigeria we want by the year 2060. I'm sure all of us have an idea of what we should look like. There's been several 3D dimensions with artificial intelligence and see what an Oshodi should look like by 2060. What a village, in Akwa Ibom should look like by 2060, and what Calabar indeed should look like by 2060. All of us have all of this in our own image. But the question we need to ask ourselves is that what effort are we making as leaders to ensure that we push, that idea that we all dream. So for me, is according to the projection, Nigeria should be the third populous nation by 2060, just behind China and India, meaning that we might see a population projection of about 400 to 500 by that time. So how well are we prepared, for that kind of a number? How well, are our leaders looking at, that doubling population over the next 30 to 40 years? What are the plans? What are the developmental goals that we're putting in place to ensure that, in fact, that numbers or those populations are being taken care of when it finally do happen? So most of this 400-500 population, from the estimate we're seeing, there will be young people. There will be people that will be under 35. So the question we want to ask ourselves is, what kind of economic agenda are we laying for them? What kind of a healthcare are we providing or will we be providing for them? What kind of jobs do we think that they should be available in our plan that will be ready to meet that aging population? What kind of technological tools must be in place, for that youthful population to have a belief that indeed the heroes of our heroes past have not been lost, that the people that were here before us, have not squandered. So for us as a government, for example, is to look at ourselves and to ask ourselves, what are those things that we can do as Lagos State that will stand the test of time? And so humbly, for example, we have said that technology is a strong enabler for the future. Technology will be a strong driver that will create, a level playing field for almost everybody worldwide. And so what we have started doing is to build what we call a 6,000 metropolitan fiber connectivity for the whole of Lagos. We've started a phase 1 of that project, which is we're deploying 3,000 kilometers of fiber capability in the entire city, right? Once we finish that, is to do another phase 2, which is another 3,000 kilometers of fiber capability. Once we can do that, what will that do for us? We're gridding the whole of Lagos, and we're creating an opportunity for everybody that has something to do, on the tech space, an opportunity where we can bring down their costs. But more importantly, we can deploy technology in our schools and in our hospitals, right? Where we can conduct and give our children capability to learn from any public school, have the capacity, to have different learning tools, from their schools with internet capability and be able to reach out to any part of the world. Using the same thing in our health, ensuring that we can do telemedicine properly, we can diagnose, ailment very quickly, and we can have a collaborative engagement with other parts of the world, whilst even remaining in Lagos, doing that. For us, we believe that's one of the very modest attempts that we can have to ensure that tomorrow, that 2060, that under 35 age, that will be coming behind us, that will create a make-believe, for them. And so the immediate task, therefore, is to harness, our entire leadership skill to make Nigeria see the need for a national rebirth and what is achievable when we initiate a change with desire. We must also install hope in our people, even as we welcome a continuous change and a new opportunity that is bound everywhere in the country. Another issue of national importance, in our view, is to identify leaders and followers who are fervently dedicated to the prosperity of Nigeria. The electorate must also be educated to elect compassionate leaders with impeccable ethical and moral standards and the appropriate passion for service. So let us up the scale of our electoral process. Let us up the scale, especially the youth, of who are the people we bring into the level of governance. Let everybody understand that they have a role to play. They have, they have a voice, and a very strong one for that matter, and they need to use it, to be able to put in place the right set of leaders, to take us to that 60 that we all believe in. We have nothing to fear if the administrators at all levels of government adopt a leadership style that secures democracy, that reduces corruption, and consolidate the gains of good governance. And that's one of the things that we want to pride ourselves in Lagos. That's one of the things that our administration wants to pride ourselves in. Just last week, I was at a conference with Budget Eats, which is an internationally funded organization that transparently brings out, the capacity of every state to be able to remain sustainable and resilient. And of course, from that report, they innocently or mistakenly adjudged Lagos to be the least. But of course, when they saw it and they checked their numbers again, they realized that indeed Lagos was the most sustainable state, was the most state capable, of being resilient and sustainable. And so for us, it's not just, a happy moment. It's a moment that we want to leverage on and push forward and ensure that we continue to remain transparent, we continue to remain accountable for the people, that has brought us here. Because indeed, this for us is the minimum we can do to reflect what true leadership is all about. We only need to advocate a powerful vision for the future, provide a legitimate solution to our social economic problem, a legitimate solution, and improve service delivery at all levels of government. We need to engender the coordination and cooperation of value between the leaders and the followers. Let us balance the interest of all Nigerians as much as we can. And so balancing the interest is to ensure that there are different arms, of this whole country called Nigeria, right? Some are strong, some are weak. We need to ensure that we balance it and we give fair play at all times. These are some of the things that will reduce all the levels of agitation that we see around. And we need to collaborate to achieve the Nigerian of our dream, especially the implementation of the 10-year plan, which we see with SGD. The next 40 years should be dedicated to enhancing the inherent benefits of globalization, especially global digital ecosystem, which I have spoken, as to what we are doing in that space. Economic diversification, it's a no-brainer. We've talked about it that we need to diversify, from a monoproduct economy. We need to be able to move, maybe to service economy, to agro-based economy, so that we can stop the reliance and over-reliance on just one product in the country. The implication is that by the year 2060, our economy, our country should have developed, transformed, and become a social, economically balanced, big capital nation. In conclusion, and more importantly, we as leaders that are here today, with diverse spheres of influence and the ability to respond to our country's daily realistic, from our father, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who will be speaking to us in the course of this webinar retreat today, to our spiritual father, Pastor E.A. Adeboye, who will also be providing for us spiritual guidance for an harmonious society, to also our traditional leader, the Oni of Ife, who will provide also a cultural guidance to the likes of my Abru Toye Cole and my brother, Mr. Donald Duke. I imagine that by the time we all talk around, the very concepts of why we're gathered here together, not only will we, be touching on all of those salient points, that will drive the conversation of ensuring, that it becomes a Nigeria of our dream, a Nigeria that we truly, really believe in. I'm also confident about the future of our country, Nigeria. With the right leadership approach and our combined efforts, we can predict where Nigeria should be by the year 2060. Our country, in my view, should be in a committee of developed nations. In my view, our country should be a country that is stronger, bigger, and better, with all the tenets of constitutional democracy in place. In my view, our country should be one of the globally acclaimed and recognized country with good governance, with a transparent process in place. And I believe that these are some of the things that we need to do to ensure that the children, the leaders of tomorrow, the young men that will be in their 30s and their 40s by the year 2060, right, believe in our own leadership today and see that indeed, by that time, we will have been transformed and will be transforming the right set of leadership to them. I want to thank you very much for listening, and I want to yield the floor back to the organizers. Thank you very much.
Excellency, you are much welcome. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. We see our spiritual father is already here, and His Excellency Donald Duke as well. So please, I know that you said that you have a budget meeting to to run off to, and you've already touched on a lot of points, and there are many questions that people have for you. But if you don't mind, we'll just ask Donald to give his own remarks so that we don't waste. Excellency Donald, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Governor Sanwo-Olu, Your Eminence, Pastor Adeboye, um, the other panelists, participants, um, Tim Nehemiah, let me thank you for this opportunity. You've asked that I speak on the exposition of past leadership in Nigeria's democracy, the governance, with emphasis on leadership and style and approach with a view towards 2060. While not delving too much on the past, because it's past and we have to look forward into the future, I must remark that we had a faulty start from 1950, not even from 1960. It was more of a sectional approach to governance and each one protecting its turf. But the bane of it all has been leadership. And this is what Governor Sanwo-Olu stated several times over. We have a leadership that in contextual Nigeria is not really prepared for the challenges of a nation going forward. The leadership of today is to prepare for the nation in the future, not for the, because today is already past. So what do we do today to ensure that in 2060, as he said, we're amongst a committee, amongst the nations, committee of nations that can be qualified as developed. Salient to this is the population numbers. We're going to have 400 million people within 950,000 square kilometers or thereabout. At independence, our numbers were barely 45. So it has grown so rapidly, but the economy has not grown at the same pace to accommodate. Let me say something that is quite stark here. In 1980, the budget of the federal government was about 25 billion. Indeed, President Shagari spent 25 billion averagely for the 4 years he was in office. To date, the budget has still really not changed. We call it the trillions, but when you take it back, it's still hovering around 25 billion. Our population has tripled between 1980 and 2020, in the last 40 years. Now, what must we do? There are four things I think that are salient to the development of our nation or to our people. We have to develop the skills, the manpower. It's difficult to say that you have a right to life, yet you do not provide the means of earning or living the life that you have a right to. In other words, having a job and having a means of livelihood is not a privilege, it's a right because it's concurrent upon having the right to life. And so it's incumbent that we skill the people such that they are themselves productive entities. It is a right, it's not a privilege. The second thing is ensuring that our healthcare, right, is matured. It's still very premature as it were today, but it's matured to a point where we are able to, we're not afraid of what tomorrow would offer. We must have a health insurance scheme. We must have trained a number of doctors. We must ensure that we have the personnel to look after our people. Then there's the infrastructural aspect of it, where you have the skilled manpower, a healthy manpower, the requisite infrastructure. And this is where we have tremendous advantage over other nations. With our large population, our land mass is not that large. So for instance, the farthest part in Nigeria end to end is not beyond 1,500 kilometers. This should make it rather easier to integrate building the right level of infrastructure to accommodate everyone. And of course, talking of 2060, we must embrace technology like we've never done before. Everyone must have a minimal level of technological aptitude to function in such a society. So just as in the past, it was incumbent that you have a knowledge of English to communicate, we must now have a certain knowledge of technology to be able to participate in the world at that time. So there are four things: skills, health, infrastructure, and technology must be incumbent. But beyond all this, how do we know these things, but you require a leadership that is purposeful, is visionary, and of course, must have the will we say the right things, as His Excellency said in his speech. We all know the problems, but we do not have the will, not just the political will, the human will. Whatever nation that you see that has advanced, let's take China. China is one of the most recent advanced nations over the last 30, 40 years. It goes back to the period of Premier Deng. That will, that we can make it happen. As long as we continue to outsource our development, we would never gain the confidence to develop our nation. It has to be developed by ourselves. We can talk of rail and we're bringing the Chinese to develop the rail for us. Well, you're outsourcing. We need to take it head on, be prepared to make the mistakes, build those rail lines, build the things that you require. Today, technology abounds, but we're not tapping into it. So even when we train our manpower, they're not trained to participate in the development of our nation, because at the end of the day, we are constantly outsourcing this development. But for all this also to happen, we need to look at the structure of our nation. The structure of our nation is restrictive, as it were, and that's why there's a clamor that we should restructure the nation. It's not to break up the nation. It's not to frustrate the development of any side or any part of the constituent parts, but it's incumbent so that the best, we don't restrict our development. Each part has something to bear. States are constantly likely wanting to say that, you know, it's they are political units or political entities. It's more than that. States also should be economic entities. So first of all, we need to restructure the nation such that each constituent part is a productive unit adding to the whole. The second thing is, and it's not being talked about often enough, but it's critical, we need to reform our judiciary. Our judiciary is really one of the banes of this country. And a society where justice is not speedily meted out is a society that is always tottering on the brink of failure. If you go to courts today, for instance, it could take you 3-4 years. And in fact, people take advantage of that. The next thing is, of course, having a system whereby each one is contributing his own part. You may call it taxes, you may call it whatever, but we're adding something to the general purse to develop the economy. Our tax base is too narrow for the number of people in the country. Our tax base, for instance, is perhaps not more than 5 to 8%, and ordinarily should be between 20 and 25% of our GDP. So between now and 2060, the focus should be in ensuring that we have a skilled population, it's a healthy population, invest heavily in infrastructure. We talk more of infrastructure than skills. That ought not to be. And the skills also should embrace technology. Then restructure the country so that even if poor leadership is thrown up at the center, it does not frustrate the constituent parts of the country. Each part would grow at its own rate. But importantly, reform the judiciary. These are just a potpourri of, because as a nation, all the resources, all the ingredients that are required to make Nigeria one of the greatest nations on earth are there. But the chef, to make all these things happen, I'm afraid is lacking. So again, I want to thank Team Nehemiah for affording me this opportunity to speak, and I look forward to answering any questions if that should arise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to the studio so that they can coordinate the questions and answers between yourself and His Excellency, the Governor. You can see the Oni is here already. We welcome him as well. So, studio, Deji Susan, please go ahead.
I don't think we're hearing.
Okay, Studio Deji, we can't hear you. Your audio is not coming through. Your audio is not coming through. Okay, while Your Excellency, while that is ongoing, did you see if you can connect? For some reason, your audio is still not coming through. Okay, so there was a question here from Taiwo Matthew Ogunshola. It says, why is it that the Nigerian government is always putting the wrong people in the right place in the name of politics? Meanwhile, the right people are not recognized. So for both yourself and His Excellency, is this an issue of politics, or is it an issue of how the voting is? Who is responsible for the right people in the wrong place or the wrong people in the right place? Your Excellency, or Your Excellency, either of you, sirs.
Well, okay. I mean, since Excellency Donald Duke is my senior, you know, that's several years. He's done 8 years in and out. But just to put it in context, and I think he would even do a better job than myself. You know, like I mentioned, people are left with the leaders that they choose for themselves. And I was clear, you know, when I was speaking that, you know, our youth have the power, they have the tool, you know, to make that call. Since they represent a larger percentage, we have an electoral process. You know, unfortunately, it's a constitutional matter. You must be part of a political party, you know, you to be eligible to contest or to vote. We do not have in the constitution an independent candidate. So the first thing first is that you must be part of a political party, right? So to be able to get your ideology or your idea around a particular policy, it's your call first, right? So it's only the people that get to present themselves forward that gets to get elected for, right? So if the question, the person that asked the question is that wrong people are presenting themselves forward and they eventually elect the wrong people. So the answer should be the right people, in my view, from his own view, should present themselves forward and by extension, they will get elected, right? Am I a wrong person? I think I'm eminently qualified and very humbly so, right? I think I'm a right person, you know. So what now happens when you elect someone is for someone like me to now be able to identify and appoint subsequent people, you know, in the right mix, you know, of leadership and position. So it's not fair to just generalize and say that the wrong people are. It's a very different conversation around the civil service or the public office. It's different from if you find a director or if you find, you know, an assistant director in a ministry or an agency. That's a career path of people that have been there for 20, 15 years, you know, and from their own career projection, they get to occupy that position. There's not much a political appointee can do to that. That person has been in the system, and by extension, he's meant to be the general manager, he's meant to be, you know, the head of that agency by virtue of the fact that he's been around and he's been working. But for you to be elected, right, you have to have gone through a political process. And for you to get the right people elected in your political process is for you to get involved in that chain of campaigning and election process. So Mr. Tonya Cole, really, it's about engagement, right? And it's about people understanding that they have the power. They need to stand up and be part of that whole process, right? Yes, we'll say that, do we have issues that it is all hooray? No, it's not. Do we have electoral challenge? Yes, we do. Do we have voting challenges? Yes, we do. Do we have security issues when they go to vote? Yes, we do. But can we make a better means out of it? Yes, we can. So it's a journey, not a destination. I mean, the biggest democracy in the world, I mean, with all due respect, in America, you saw what happened at their last debate. You know, it was a major disappointment for everyone. And even in America, they are wondering which way should they go to. But they understand and they appreciate that they still needed to express themselves by one form or the other by choosing, I mean, in their own view, a right leader. You know, who turns out to be a right leader is a different person's perspective. You know, so it's something that it's a journey that we all need to know that we're still, you know, in the early part of that journey, and it can only get better with subsequent election. And so it's really to encourage everybody to get participatory. The ages limit are very, very low for everybody to come in. the requirements in terms of qualification are very, very low for everybody to come in, right? And so it's really to say that we just have to get participatory. A lot more people participate, in the electoral process. I yield the floor back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Yes. There was another question which I would, again, I'll pass on to His Excellency Donald Duke and then yourself, if possible. It came from John Olubisi, Sebio Timor, and he's wondering if we see Nigeria still standing as one country in the next 10 years. We're talking about 2060. In the next 10 years, it says that Biafra is agitating, Odua Republic is agitating. Can we still be one country? And Your Excellency Donald, you talked about technology and the future and how this country is standing together. So can you please take the answer to that question?
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Yes, there are queries as to whether we have what it is to remain as a united entity. My answer is yes, there is. But we mustn't take our unity for granted, which is probably the challenge that we're having. I think that the preponderance of people want us to remain together. And I also believe that for the union to work, we also need to give each other space. It's like, if you're in a crowded house, you want to get out of the house. So give yourself space so that you don't want to get out. Yes, we would remain together. We need, as I said earlier on, to ensure that each one of us has something to take out of the nation. Patriotism is loyalty to a nation. Loyalty is a two-way street. You give and you take. If you give and you don't take and you don't receive, then that's servitude, that's not loyalty. We need to ask ourselves, and people are asking, okay, fine, you want me to be patriotic, you want me to be loyal to the nation, but it should be quid pro quo. What am I getting back for it? If you see in nations where people are proud to raise the flags of their country, it's because they believe their country is there for them. They believe that if things go wrong, they have a country to fall back on. But in a country where you're literally on your own, it's very hard, honestly, to demand that level of patriotism. But yes, if we do the right things, if we are able to, as I stated earlier, if we're able to restructure the country, and restructuring is important so that no one is left behind. You don't restructure the country so you have a rich part and a poor part. No, restructure the country such that, first of all, there's a level where you cannot fall below. We cannot have people being parasitic on others. So the structure must be such that they can hold on their own. Then the growth, the sky is your limit. This is what I believe we should be anchoring on. But I do believe, yes, a simple yes. We have gone through a civil war. We survived it. We are not going to break up. But we need to. So
Nigeria, in your opinion, Nigeria will remain one by 2060.
Absolutely. And stronger too.
And stronger. Well done. So that's a lot of hope for Nigeria moving forward, especially to that generation. Okay, we have Daddy Gio coming up within the next 5 minutes. So are there any last comments from His Excellency Sanwo-Olu, and then yourself, Your Excellency Donald Duke? Last comments, especially to our youth, the next population. A lot of them are complaining about electronic voting, that Nigeria as of today should be within the realm where they themselves feel that they're in control by virtue of technology and electronic voting. In your last words, can you address this, and then we'll hand over back to the studio to introduce Daddy Gio for the next segment.
Thank you very much.
Governor of Lagos State.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sonia. And I think the answer to that is yes. I think if I'm studying or monitoring INEC very well, they've set for themselves a process to get us to electronic voting. They've set for themselves an agenda in which they will take us there. So let's hope that they can achieve that by 2023, right? And so let's forget, this is just a 20-year-old democracy, right? And so it needed to sort of like win itself over and learn. But we cannot continue to give excuses and say that, yes, because we're not 200 years or something. The world is indeed, we can leapfrog and catch up. So I will agree that, yes, what is working well, we don't need to reinvent it. Let's just, copy very correctly and just get there very, very quickly. And that's why, like I did mention, we as a government, for example, see that we need to build the capability in terms of infrastructure. A lot of things that are in the tech ecospace. That's what we're building, connectivity, for example. That becomes the backbone for even the INEC of tomorrow and even for our youth of today to be able to have, technology capability cheaper and easier and have it more accessible. So that's why we were actually even deploying a lot of resource in that space. But to answer the question, finally, I believe it's something that we will get to quicker, sooner than further away. And I believe that we should challenge INEC and see if that can happen by 2023, where we need to have some sort of like electronic voting or something, so that everybody can indeed participate, whatever part of the country they are in. But the infrastructure needs to be developed very, very quickly. But I believe it's possible. Thank you.
So, Your Excellency, I hear you say that the way Lagos State is going, at least for Lagos, the infrastructure will be there for INEC to stand on top by 2023 for electronic voting if they choose to go that way. That's the message you are giving.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And for INEC is for our entire citizens. We're holding ourselves accountable to that. We're building the infrastructure. Is the last mile thing that we'll be doing a year and a half down the line, where you will have that capability. And that's what we're putting the investments, on the table. And we're doing it collaboratively with the private sector.
Excellent.
So, we're developing that right now.
Thank you for leading the way. Your Excellency Donald Duke, your last words, and then we hand over to the
It's imperative. If this democracy is going to work, we have to ensure that your votes count, and technology is the only way out. I believe that working alongside with the telecoms, it can be done. I think INEC is way behind in this. They should have started, at least at local government elections, testing out the systems to make sure it works. I was privileged to be an observer in Venezuela. Their elections, regardless of what we think about Venezuela, their elections are so technologically driven that at the end of the day, by 5 p.m. in the evening, to exactitude what the results are. And it's not, the technology already abounds. The infrastructure in Nigeria is largely there. You can really communicate with everyone in any part of the country, but we have been foot dragging in adopting it. There are two things we need that imperil our electoral process: poverty and illiteracy. We need to do a lot more. It's difficult to have a democracy where people are largely poor. You see inducements here and there and all that. That's why we need to pay a lot more attention to that as we go forward. It's going to take a long time, but we need to work to ensure that we get our people economically independent. And of course, we need to build on our literacy base. But as stated, it's imperative that we adopt technology in its fullest form to ensure that our democracy becomes meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Excellent presentations from two of our leading political forces in Nigeria. So we hand over to the studio. Daddy J is already sat, and over to you, Deji and Susan. Thank you.
Thank you very much once again to our two governors. Governor Sanwo-Olu, thank you so very much. We salute you, we celebrate you. Your exemplary leadership through the COVID process has been, the COVID crisis has been amazing. We've also seen that you're running a real race to get Lagos developed as fast as possible. We salute you and thank you for the role model that you are for the younger generation. Thank you so very much. We also want to thank you, former Governor of Cross River State, Your Excellency Donald Duke. When you were governor, it was obvious that you were many years ahead of your time, and we can even see that in some of the words that you've spoken today. I want to really thank both of you for that excellent presentations. Now we want to move to the next segment, which is where we have our Director General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Adeboye, fondly known as Daddy Gio. He's a man who has been committed to his country over the years. You can see the development of the Redeemed Christian Church of God that it has gone to. It is now in 197 territories across the world, and his simple passion is that we all make heaven. also extremely passionate about the youth. We just finished the youth convention in the Redeemed Christian Church, we just ended yesterday, and we invite him to please come and just charge the youth on what they should do in the days and the months and the years ahead, and also to pray for our nation. Daddy Gio, please.
Well, Your Excellencies, Your Royal Majesty, my brothers and sisters, I want to thank the Almighty God for a day like this, and I want to thank the organizers for asking me to come and pray for you and pray for Nigeria. But when they told me that I will be ministering for about 10 minutes, I said, if I pray for 10 minutes, by the time I finish praying, I hope those who are listening to me will not be falling asleep. So I believe that what they actually meant is that probably I will share a few thoughts with you before I pray. I'm sure you all know that I'm not a politician. I don't belong to any political party. I've never been governor, or neither do I ever hope to be. As a matter of fact, each time I travel throughout the world and I have the opportunity of visiting heads of states, I always come out of there thanking God that I'm a pastor. Because when you consider all the protocols, all the security checks, you can only come to the conclusion that it's easier to see Jesus Christ than to see some of our heads of states. But before I became a pastor, I was a mathematician, an applied mathematician. And mathematicians they practically live their lives solving problems. You see, when we begin to talk about Nigeria, so in the year 2060, the first question that a mathematician will want to ask is, one, are we sure there will be Nigeria in the year 2060? In other words, you're talking about something that you are not 100% sure will be there at the time you are talking about it. You see, because before we can begin to discuss Nigeria of 2060, we need to address the problems that we have right now, that if these problems are not solved, then this will be just an academic exercise. Not that I don't enjoy the exercise. I mean, it's very refreshing. But you see, I think on one of the occasions when I was on a long flight from, I think, from London to Singapore, a journey of about 13 hours or something. After you've eaten and you slept and you woke up and then discover you still have some 7 hours to go, definitely you have time to fool around a little bit. And then I was thinking about Nigeria. And I have these thoughts within myself, which I think I will just share with you. By the time I finish sharing it, you are likely to consider it a joke from a mathematician, because after all, mathematicians can be eccentric at times. I just felt that why can't we have a system of government that is 100% Nigeria, unique to us? For example, we started off with the British system of government. Somewhere along the line, we moved over to the American system of government. And I was just wondering, can't we have a combination of both and see whether it could help us solve a problem. You see, because in mathematics, if you want to solve a problem and you try what we call real analysis and it doesn't work, then you move on to complex analysis and see if that will help you. If that fails, you move on to vector analysis and so on. I believe that probably we might need to look at the problem of Nigeria in a slightly different manner. You see, because some people feel that all our problems will be over if Nigeria should break up. I think that is trying to solve the problem of Nigeria as if it's a simple equation problem. The problems of Nigeria will require quite a bit of simultaneous equations, and some of them are not going to be linear either. Forgive me, I'm talking as a mathematician. So I was thinking, why can't we, for example, have a system of government that will create a kind of what I would call United States of Nigeria? And let me explain. We all know that we must restructure. I mean, it's either we restructure or we break. That means you don't have to be a prophet to know that one. That is certain to come, restructure or break up. Now, we don't want to break up. I mean, God forbid. In restructuring, why don't we have, like I said, a Nigerian kind of democracy? At the federal level, for example, why don't we have a president and a prime minister? Hey, what do you mean? Well, if we have a president and a prime minister, and we share responsibilities between these two, so that one is not an appendage of the other. For example, if the president controls the army and the prime minister controls the police, if the president controls, shall we say, resources like oil and mining, and the prime minister controls finance and inland revenue, taxes and customs, etc., etc. You just divide the responsibilities between the two. And then you come to the state level. And at the state level, you have the governor and you have a premier. And again, you distribute responsibilities between these people in such a manner that one cannot really go all alone without the other. Maybe this is just a mathematical suggestion, and a mathematician can be eccentric, like I've said. Maybe we might begin to tackle the problem. And if we're going to adopt this model, which you eminent personalities will be able to talk about, I think then we will need urgently to restore what we used to call the House of Chiefs. I have a feeling that one of our major problems is that we have pushed the traditional rulers to the background. And I believe that's a great error, particularly for a country like Nigeria. You see, I find it very ridiculous that one will ask a traditional ruler to inform the chairman of his local government before he travels. Go to any town in Nigeria. Everybody in the town knows who is the paramount ruler, and they respect him. Many of them don't even know the name of the chairman of their local government. The traditional rulers are the actual landlords. They control the respect of their people. Their people will listen to them much more than, I'm sorry to say, they will listen to some politicians. And so just like they have, say, the House of Lords in Britain, why can't we have the House of Chiefs? We might expand it and include in that House of Chiefs, as they do in Britain, include some religious leaders, bishops. I'm not a bishop, I'm a pastor, so don't think I'm including myself. Bishops, chief imams, and so on and so on. These are people who can shape the opinions of the people. I'm just putting that one as a little presentation to those of you who can think about it. Maybe it will help us to get Nigeria going. And then, without any doubt, we must restructure and do it as soon as possible. A United States of Nigeria is likely to survive much more than our present structure. But then my assignment is to pray for you and to pray for Nigeria, and I'm ready to pray now. So if you don't mind, can we just bow our heads in prayer? Almighty God, I want to thank you very, very much for Nigeria. I want to thank you for all you've done for us, in spite of all our problems, in spite of all our weaknesses. Thank you for your mercy, Lord God Almighty, that you have shown unto this nation again and again. Oh, Lord God Almighty, it is of this your mercy that we have not been consumed by COVID-19, because we do not have what it takes to face this huge, terrible enemy that we can't even see. And while greater nations with all manners of resources are counting their dead by the hundreds of thousands, you have been so merciful unto us that you have spared us. We are very grateful, Lord. And we are praying that you will continue to be merciful unto us and continue to treat us, Lord God Almighty, with compassion, at least until we can put our acts together. Continue to be merciful unto us and let Nigeria become great. As for your children who are participating in this discussion, Lord, I pray that you will continue to help them solve their own individual problems, help them to carry their burdens, let it be well with them. And I pray that even though this is supposed to be just some rubbing of minds, I pray that you will bring something out of it, Lord, that will preserve our nation and propel this nation to greatness so that your name will be glorified. Thank you, Almighty God, for we have prayed in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Praise the Lord. Thank you very much. God bless you.
We're so grateful for your contribution. Thank you particularly for those words of wisdom. I'm sure that those who need to know will consider this, and particularly the youth of the nation should take those as wise words. We also thank you, Daddy, for the powerful prayer that you prayed. We're really grateful for your contribution to this symposium. God bless you, Daddy. Thank you. We're now going to move over to the next presentation, and this is the presentation by our traditional ruler, who is one of our panelists. His Royal Highness is Oba Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi. He's Ojaja II. He's the traditional ruler, or fondly known, or the title he's given is the Oni of the Yoruba Kingdom of Ile-Ife. He's an advocate for the empowerment and emancipation of women and young people. And he's also spent quite a lot of his time since he came to the throne to transform Ile-Ife into a tourist zone He's a renowned philanthropist, and he's committed to humanity and an advocate for the less privileged. I want to thank him as we bring him onto the symposium this afternoon. Your Royal Highness, please.
Pastor Deji, His Excellency, His Royal Highness, he's coming immediately after the next speaker. So Pastor Obi should please come in first, and then he will come in immediately after. Please.
Okay, so we're going to have Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. Dr. Obi Ezekwesili is an economic policy expert. She's also a Nobel Peace Prize nominee and was candidate for the office of the President of Nigeria in the year 2019. She is a former Minister of Minerals and later of Education for Nigeria. Dr. Ezekwesili served as Vice President of the Washington, D.C.-based World Bank. She was responsible for the Africa Region Program with a lending portfolio of over $40 billion. She's also a co-founder of Transparency International and one of the pioneer directors of its global board based in Berlin from 1994 to 1999. She's currently the Senior Economic Advisor, Africa Economic Development Policy Initiative. Let's welcome her to the symposium. Dr. Obi, please.
Thank you so very much. Please give me a feedback that you can hear me.
I can hear you, ma'am.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. And what a great event to participate in. And I do want to thank Daddy Adeboye and Mommy Adeboye. And I want to thank the Nehemiah Leadership Institute for laying on such an auspicious event. I was so delighted to listen to the speech of the governor, that of Governor Duke, and that especially of our own father. This is a very unusual session for us to be able to glean incredible thoughts that Adeboye has shared with us on matter of nation building in details. So today I've been asked to speak on the dimension of Nigeria at 60 that looks at fixing tomorrow's politics today. And I think that this must be the conspiracy of Tony, because he does know that I have spent a couple of months researching into the matter of politics and the effects that. Can you enable me share my screen? I do have something to. Can the host enable me share my screen? So I do.
You're enabled now.
Lovely. So let's see. Very good. So I spent some time, I think I have put up the wrong presentation. So I'm going to get out of this one and go to the right one. But before my screen comes up, what I had spent time doing was following my stepping down from running for office. I essentially found in running for office a clarity that what we believe to be a problem about governance actually does not start when government is formed. Our problem starts when politics is on. And unfortunately, what we don't do well, can you still hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yes. Unfortunately, what we don't do well is that we have a way of waiting for government to be formed before we focus on the matter of governance. In running for office, I discovered that we have a serious problem with our politics. And there is no politics in a democracy without there's no governance in a democracy without politics. In other systems of government, you can go into governance and, without politics. But because there is politics before governance, we have a problem because our politics is dysfunctional. And our politics is dysfunctional, not just on the continent of Africa, not just in Nigeria, but on the continent of Africa. And the reason that this is so is that our politics mirrors a democracy as a system of governance that is largely acclaimed to be the best form of government beyond other than the rest. As a matter of fact, it's said that it is the worst form of government until you have tried all the other. And so in my research to understanding what it is that is wrong with our politics, one first and fundamental thing that is wrong with our politics is that we have a political culture that subverts the collective interest of the people to the private interest of those that play in politics. Our democracy is therefore standing on a structurally faulty foundation. It is not just structurally faulty in terms of the institutions of democracy, but it's also structurally faulty in terms of the way and manner of the people that play in the politics. And so our finding is that there are three things that you see in the ecosystem of democracy. You see the people who are the electorate, and then you see the people who are the politicians, and then you see the regulatory context in which the politics is played. These three pillars make up the ecosystem of a democracy. Analyze any democracy on the basis of these three pillars, you would be able to find in a spectrum where each democracy lies. Democracy and democracies widely in Africa, what you find is that the degree of competition and the quality of interaction between the people who are electorate, who therefore are the ones voting to demand for governance, and those who offer themselves to provide governance, the relationship is a broken relationship, and that relationship has given concentrated monopolistic power. In other words, there's a concentration of power in the hands of those who offer themselves to govern. Now, the problem is worsened that the regulator of that relationship ends up being a part of the supply side, that is the ones who get the delegated authority to govern. Which therefore suggests that when you look at the failure of countries on the continent, and especially our own country, to ever achieve a substantial progress in development, when there is even a change of political party, the problem is not that the political parties are different or too many or too little. It is that our political class has a dominant political culture that subverts the collective welfare of the people and subordinates it to their private interest without consequences. So in the light of the understanding that politics undermines everything, politics undermines individual. Politics undermines family, undermines community, undermines economy and business, undermines this governance. It means that if we do not fix politics, we would be wasting a lot of time. Our politics is wrong. Our politics is faulty. Our politics is broken. Therefore, we must fix the politics. Now, of these three pillars, which of the pillars has the capacity or is well positioned to be able to fix politics? It is only the citizens who make up the electorate that can, because the regulator has they have no institutional strength to do that. So you can't say, you can't depend on the judiciary, you can't depend on the INEC or the police, the security establishment. You see the level of service that they provide on politics. And then you look at, can you all still hear me?
Yes, we can. Please keep going.
Yes, and then you look at the supply side, which is the politicians, and you find out that the politicians have no incentive to change politics, no incentive whatsoever. The conditions are okay for them. And this dominant political culture is the monopolistic product. The service that they provide is monopolistic, because regardless of the party acronym, it is the same poor governance that you mostly get. And I heard when the governor said, don't generalize, but when a significant, when statistically it is significant that you would more probably get poor governance from our political class, regardless of what party is in office, you are right to be able to say that you have a critical condition on your hand. That being the case, therefore, what do we know as a matter of urgency must be done? We must fix our politics. Why must it be urgent for us to fix our politics? It is urgent for us to fix our politics because right now, this failure of successive governments to meet the basic expectations of citizens for improved well-being is creating a society that is on the tenterhooks. I mean, the Nigerian society, the entity right now is unviable. Nigeria as presently constituted and the governance outcomes that it produces are totally unviable. There is, it is, if you looked at it analytically, there is no prospect in terms of it being a going concern. So its existence is threatened. Even in terms of analytical data, it tells us that Nigeria is number 13 out of the over 180 something countries measured, that Nigeria is number 13 fragile state in the world. Now that is serious, that is significant, that is terrible. When some people when Afrobarometer, a very important organization that measures issues, perceptions, and things in society around governance, did a survey recently, 1 out of every 3 Nigerian would like to leave their country, would like to leave their country. This, I don't want to take on some of the things that Governor Duke had talked about to indicate that our democracy has not performed. I don't want to take on the thing that that Dee had clearly articulated are reasons why this structure must be worked upon. Now, in proposing the way to go, you see that the features of democracy we don't have. It should be elections, not selections. It should be based on meritocracy, not mediocrity, individual liberty and freedom of choices, transparency and accountability. Majority may rule, but minority rights must be protected. Cooperation and compromises are part of politics, but not the denigration of society. Power and civic responsibility on the part of citizens who understand what office of the citizen means would be an important part of it. So having said all of this, what then are we asking that we must do? we must respond in a triangular way. We need three things to do at the macro level. The details can be later, and I would send the presentation. I don't know what happened to my my laptop. It just stopped connecting with the presentation itself. Now, the triangular pillars that we must have is that, number one, we need a new constitution, an entirely new constitution. Everything that Pastor Adeboye was saying is about the necessity for a people to sit again. The last time we sat as a people, not as a military government handing us a constitution. The last time any of such gathering of people who represented the nationalities happened was the 1959 constitution that led to the independence of the country, 1960. We cannot afford to be governed at this time by a constitution that is not owned by the Nigerian people, but just by the military and those it selected to do the constitution. The marginal changes, amendments that we try to do is not enough. When you have a structural problem, you must find a structural solution. Nigeria today is a structural anomaly. Nigeria must be solved structurally. And so we need a constitutional conference that is citizens-led. The National Assembly has no incentive for the kind of degree of change that we require in order to create the fundamental foundation upon which our country's future, our prospect can be realized. So if the Constitution, if the National Assembly, which is the only mechanism that currently exists through which you can amend the Constitution, has zero incentive to engage even at a time that the country is on the precipice, then it means that we as the people of Nigeria must be the ones who as citizens understand what collective action for success can be. So the three-pronged approach is this matter of, at that apex level of regulatory context, do we need a new constitution? We need a new constitution that enables us to completely redesign our political, our economic governance structure. We need a new constitution that encapsulates the kinds of cutting-edge change that we want to see in the way that elections happen, so that our electoral process will give us the kind of outcome, depending on what design of structure we collectively agree when we sit at the table of this new constitution. And then the second thing is we need to immediately begin to invest in building a new political class. Remember that the start off of my presentation is that the dominant political culture is the monopolistic service that has retarded and stagnated the country, because you have a political class that subverts that collective good and interest. So you can't do anything with an existing political class that has a political culture that it has accepted to be okay. So what do you do when you want to change a supply in the marketplace? You produce a different supply. So we want to produce a new supply stream of value-based political class, a political class that understands ethical politics, that understands competencies in policies, that understands how to build institutions and systems and procedures that enable the growth of society. Then the third thing is we must raise the influence of the electorate. The Nigerian citizens cannot afford to be onlookers. You can't afford to be a spectator. In the governance of societies, any society where the citizens understand the important role that they play, the change that happens can happen. You have seen that the regulator has no power to effect your change. You have seen that the political class has no incentive to do it. Are you just going to wait? You're just going to wait. Waiting will not lead to anything but disaster. And that is not something that we want for our country. So when I quote Margaret Mead, who said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And you know, when I heard one of my co-speakers saying that oh, you know, technology is great. Well, I quote what somebody in the world of technology said. Our intuition about the future is linear, but the reality of information technology is exponential. And that makes a profound difference. If I took 30 steps linearly, I would get to 30. But if I took 30 steps exponentially, I would get to 1 billion. We know all the things as a society. In many of them came up in the presentations of Daddy Adeboye, of Governor Duke, of even the governor of Lagos State. We know many things now that could be more than 30, which we can take exponentially through technology. And my theory is a theory of scale and speed. We can gain speed by joining up the little initiatives that are all over the place, saying the same thing, but not quite agreeing to come under one tent. The one tent that we need is a tent that says, is Nigeria viable? Can it continue to be viable? And the answer of everybody would be no. Anybody who is honest would say this entity cannot be viable into the future until we do what we're supposed to do. And what we're supposed to do is to design a new Nigeria. We can design a new Nigeria. That new Nigeria, the leadership for that to happen has to be something that the citizens will lead. So what do I say in the end? I say in the end that technology and people working in collaboration could make our democracy to become what it is that we want it to be. That's again back to what Daddy was saying. The people must shape and design the system that they want to run. And then the second thing I said is that the power of citizens' collective action for success lies amongst us. All of the things that they use as divides cannot in any way mirror the things that could rally the citizens against common foe of the failure that we have seen from our political class. And then the last couple of things that I then say is that the power of citizen, that there is a trinity of economic growth and development that the world now knows. No matter what country you see that has developed, that has prospered, if you took countries like South Korea and Singapore, they started off the post-independence journey at the same time as us, who were equally colonized by Britain as they were. And when you see the divergence, we are at below 3,000 of income per capita. One of them, Singapore, is at more than 60,000. South Korea is at almost 50,000. You see the disparity. It is coming out of three things that they have done well: sound policies, strong institutions, and having the way of leadership to select the right priorities of investment in public good, to enable business become the engine room of economy, and to enable their citizens be the best that they can be. That last point I made about citizens be the best that they can be, have you noticed that when you look at sectors that have done well in Nigeria, they are sectors that are based on talent, So you look at creative industry, you look at the entertainment industry, you look at the fashion industry, you look at technology. It is based on the human capability. It is not based on anything, but you look at sports, you just see that where talent is rewarded, our people flourish. There is something to say about just getting our politics right. If we get our politics right, then our economy will definitely take off. We would have a prosperous society that tackles poverty, and then a cohesive society that is an inclusive society, a society that puts merit at the center of everything, a society that enables productivity and competitiveness to be rewarded. It does not take everybody on a race to the bottom. Rather, we must all be on a race to the top. Let me conclude as a pastor's wife, although my husband always reminds me as a pastor, that there is something in the book of the Lord, that's the Bible, and it's about Jericho. And when Elisha came to Jericho after he got his double portion anointing to be the successor of Elijah, they said that the men of Jericho went out to meet him. People who hitherto hadn't been concerned about the state of that land, they went out to meet him. And they said to him that, do you know that we consider our land to be pleasant, but our water is not? That's the story of Nigeria. We've got all the endowments, but there's nothing that is life about our society at a time like this. And it's been cumulative over years. So here we are, knowing that what Elisha said to the men of Jericho was to get me a new cruise and get me salt in it. And what did he do? He took this and put at the head of the stream of that water. And the Bible records that it healed from that day unto this day, showing that there's nothing about a bad situation that cannot heal. But the people must stop being comfortable with their failure. There is nothing about the Bible that says that we should stay praying for the things that God has given us capacity to do. That's why I congratulate NLI and I congratulate Daddy for this this massive opportunity for us as a church to begin to put conversation about the country at the table. And then the final thing that I believe is that in Amos 9:13-15, for those who think if we had the constitutional conversation, if we got our structure right, how long will it take us? Remember what I said about exponential progress. Well, in the Bible, we also have something. Amos 9:13-15 says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him that soweth seed. And the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. And I will bring again the captivity of my people of Israel, and they shall build waste places. That doesn't sound like a country, and inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. And I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith the Lord God. We should therefore all arise and fix our politics. Where are the Nehemiahs? Thank you very much.
Your presentation, it was all encompassing. I wonder if you could help us with a couple of questions even after your presentation. We have a lot of youngsters in our country. If you look at the recent Big Brother Nigeria that recently completed, they were looking at over 100 million votes in order to choose the winner. I just want to ask that question because you touched on the fact that Nigeria looks at talent, the entertainment industry, and you talk about this change that is necessary in our politics, in our governance, in our constitution. What are the practical steps that you can say to the youth of this nation to get them to be part, to embrace that change that needs to take place? Dr. Obi, please.
I must say I was struggling with the sound system, so I didn't completely. I know I heard youth, but I'm not sure what else.
So I'll try to ask the question one more time. I said that in your great presentation, you touched on almost all the areas of issues with Nigeria. And I said that recently in the recently completed Big Brother Nigeria, there were over 100 million votes for the winner, and we see a lot of participation of the youth in entertainment. How do we bridge that gap into the areas of need of Nigeria, governance, changing the constitution, politics? What are the practical?
I must say for the youth that they currently are the ones who are perturbed about bad governance. A lot of them are using their platforms, they are using their social media, using technology as a basis to demand for better governance. But I think that the major point that the governor had made was that democracy is participatory. You cannot be on the margins of it and expect anything different. And therefore, a deeper participation on the basis of political literacy is important. One of the things in my research that I found out is that the reason we have the incident of voters selling their vote is because the productivity of the women who make up those that go out on election dates to vote is so low. Because their productivity is so low, what they make on a day is often lower than the kind of money they will be paid for their vote for that one day of election. And for this category of people, one day is important in their lives. They are not discussing 4 years with us. They are not discussing 60 years with us. They are simply wanting to survive for a day. So one of the solutions that we propose in my research is that we as the church, as philanthropic organizations, as individuals, as that are interested in this must bring all our resources with which we try to give empowerment together so that we can achieve scale in raising the productivity of our young people and our women over time. There is no quick magic, that you do, because I don't believe in magic, So you have to, there's no silver bullet. So you must gather all of these. That's why I said small is no longer beautiful. We must aggregate all these initiatives and then improve productivity over time, but we don't do that alone. As we are giving people empowerment, we are giving them political literacy so that they understand how to be rational decision makers when it is time to vote. They vote for their interest, not for their need at that immediate time. And then the other thing on the point that you made is that if you look at the percentage of people who are voting, 85% elected our president. My goodness, in 1999, it was nearly 60% of the electorate that voted in the president at that time. So the last election, 35%. We are about 84 million voters on the register, and only about 14 to 15 million voted in a president. 35% of electorate, that is not good. There is work to be done in unleashing the power. The youth must trust the process through which they are being supported to take the rightful place. Finally, on the supply side of new leadership, what my research found is that we can do this quickly. We can use technology. We can design unconventional schools that will produce and deliver the kind of knowledge. Enable us.
I think the host has promoted
that build up, that will take them into people who have character, people who have character, competence, and capacity. Once we can do that on a scale, there is a program that we're starting. It is going to train every 6 months 250 young people and 250 women who will become new political class every 6 months. Can you imagine if we sustain this for the next 10 years? We will completely change the quality of people playing our politics at every level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Obi. Just a closing statement from you, please.
Oh God, I'm still not hearing. I'm afraid I would have.
I said just a closing statement from you regarding the state of our economy. About 3 million people coming into the workforce every year and only about 1 million jobs available. How do we address this? What can we do about this?
So this is tough. The data is even worse than what you laid out, because what we do know is that it's almost like only 10% of your 3 million end up getting what in the definition of the International Labour Organization can be called decent work. So you have to say to yourself, what do the other 90% do? So when you are faced with this kind of a dilemma, it means that you cannot do things on the edge. You can't use band-aid. You can't say, okay, let the churches begin to do a little things here and there. It won't tackle it. So you need structural change. So we're back again to where we started. Our structural change requires that our economy becomes an economy that is not, is not that its fortune is not volatile, dependent on the fortune of oil in the marketplace of the world that we don't control. So a structural change means that every sector in this country and all sectors of diversity are represented across the spectrum of Nigeria, whether it be in terms of human capital. The Nigerian, given the best education, becomes so skilled, so entrepreneurial. So human capital, whether it is in terms of financial services, whether it is in terms of ICT technology, in other words, information and communication technology, and innovation and sciences that go along with it, whether it is in agriculture, agribusiness, because it is the value addition that you're looking for, whether it is in manufacturing, where we trail the rest of the world in terms of the percentage of our GDP at less than 10% that is manufacturing, whether it is in other services, not the low productivity services of having our young people and our women carrying goods that are not up to what constitutes a living wage, so the diversity of sources of growth for us just would need a structural transformation. And those three things that I said to you, the three things of sound policies, the vibrant institution that is dynamic, that enables people to be the best they can be without all kinds of strictures around them, or it be the investment in the kind of public good. Look at basic service delivery. How can the child of the poor in a very poor community today be as capable of attaining the kind of stature that you attained, Deji? You could have been born poor. I was born poor, but see where just a semblance of normalcy of governance. It wasn't even perfect. It didn't go near perfect, but see where it took us. Daddy Adeboye talks about his story all the time. We must get back to a place where the human capital is at the center of our economic strategy. And let me tell you, the current political class have no interest in this, because oil is the basis of the corrupting of our political landscape in this country. If you removed oil from the equation, my goodness, we would have a different kind of conversation in Nigeria.
Pastor Deji, we can't hear you. You're muted. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead now.
Dr. Obi, we want to say thank you very much for your contribution. Those were an amazing presentation on the one hand, but also you proffer very intricate solutions that will be useful. I pray that the youth are listening and that they will take their place and grasp hold of this country and move us forward even into the future. Thank you so very much for your presentation. We're truly grateful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We will now move on to our next presenter. We are blessed to have with us His Royal Highness Oba Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi, the Ojaja II, the traditional ruler, or as his title is, the Oni of the Yoruba Kingdom of Ile-Ife. He's an advocate for the empowerment and emancipation of women and young people, and he's also transforming Ile-Ife today to make it more of a tourist zone. Oba Ogunwusi is also a renowned philanthropist who is committed to humanity and is an advocate for the less privileged. He has granted support over the years through the House of Oduduwa Foundation and recently through the Hopes Alive initiative. Please let's welcome His Royal Highness, the Ojaja II, the Ooni of Ife. I understand that we might be having some difficulties.
Pastor Digi, he's been prepared to come on, so they've logged in at his end. So if we can start with Toyosi, who is already started, then we'll continue with him.
Okay, it gives me great pleasure to present to you Toyosi Akerele Ogunsiji. She was named by Forbes as one of the 20 most powerful young women in Africa. She's a data science and artificial intelligence leader, a social entrepreneur, and policy advisor in EdTech and human capital development. She's the founder of the Rise Networks, and she's Nigeria's leading social enterprise whose mandate focuses on using technology, innovation to create advocacy, skills empowerment, and learning opportunities for the inclusive growth of youth with the core objective of preparing them for effective, value-based leadership at all levels in the public, private, and social sectors. Toyosi is an Edward Mason Fellow and Master in Public Administration from Harvard University, the Kennedy School of Government, where she also served as Vice President for International Student Affairs and the Chair of the International Students Affairs Committee. Toyosi, we welcome you to this symposium.
Good afternoon, Mr. West. How did you do today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly.
I hear you loud
Okay.
and clear.
Okay. It's good to be here.
Your camera is showing us your beautiful hair. I can bring it down so that we can see your face as well. That would be great.
Are you able to see me well?
Adjust the camera down a bit. Beautiful. That's it.
Okay, you're well? You're good?
Yep, fire away.
This is good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Happy Independence to everyone. It's good to be here.
Everyone is muted. Happy Independence. Please fire away. You can go, Toyosi. We're listening.
I thought he asked me a question. I thought he was supposed to ask me a question before I start speaking.
No. You can go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Independence. My name is Toyosi Akerele Ogunsiji. I'm very glad to be joining this conversation this afternoon. My very warm regards to our father in the Lord, Pastor Adeboye, His Royal Highness Ooni of Ife, Mr. Donald Duke, my mommy and mentor, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, the Executive Governor of Lagos State. This afternoon, my line of thoughts would be slightly different, or if you like, revolutionary, because of, for me, what I consider the prevalent realities in Africa and Nigeria today. At the moment, statistics show that by 2030, of the 600 million young people that would go into the labor market, one out of three of them would come from Africa. And I dare say that 2 out of 3 will come from Nigeria. Now, what does that mean for us as a country? What does that mean for us as a people? The most fundamental questions that have been on my mind over the last couple of months, and perhaps about 2 years now, is as those questions have arisen from some of the discoveries that I happen to have made just very recently. I'm very concerned about the fact that I do not think that Nigeria's government and private sector, understand that, number one, there's a direct linkage between the management and the mismanagement of our resources and the institutionalization of poverty and corruption in Nigeria. What do I mean by that? When you put money in the hands of certain people to manage, and they either divert the resources or they mismanage those resources, what they're doing is, to a very considerable extent, perpetuating poverty, depriving a certain segment of our society of their livelihoods, of the quality of education, of the quality infrastructure that they need, to be able to, aid their mobility and movement, to be able to run their businesses. The second shocking discovery for me is the fact that Nigeria does not seem to have come to terms with the fact that the productivity of nations is directly linked to the quality of the human capital of those nations. Because when I look at our national budget, when I look at the things that private sector spends money on, it just shows me a clear case of misplaced priorities. A lot of people criticize young people for watching Big Brother Nigeria and making such a huge case, such a big deal out of it and paying so much attention to it. But I don't watch Big Brother Nigeria. However, I believe that the reason Nigerian young people pay it extreme attention, put their resources into it, is because that is perhaps the only opportunity they have for their votes to count. They vote and they find out that they are able to actually influence the outcomes of the results that they anticipate. In the political process, it's not the same. On the private sector and the economic side, it's not the same. And so every time I see people, pummel young Nigerians, the first thing that I always like to ask is, what quality of education are we giving to young people in Nigeria today? Does the quality of our instructional content from the primary to the secondary to the tertiary level, does it give them any competitive edge side by side their peers in other countries in Africa like Ghana, South Africa, Rwanda, or even Egypt, if you like, and to other countries like the US or the UK, and even perhaps the UAE? Now, when you even think about education, you now break it down to whether it's formal education or informal education and skills. And the truth is that economies that invest in skill acquisition are going to be superior to the economies that simply invest in knowledge. Why do I say that? We live in a country today where a university student studies mechanical engineering for 5 years, but his vehicle stops on 3rd Mainland Bridge and is totally clueless about what to do. And then he has to call an illiterate who did not go to any formal, who did not go to any schooling within any formal, system to come and fix the problem. My local mechanic understands cathodes and diodes, knows the meaning of, he knows everything that is fundamentally wrong with your vehicle, but you who studied mechanical engineering doesn't know what to do. So we're building a country that subsists on theoretical education that does not give any practical opportunities for learning. Hence, what you have is a bunch of educated illiterates who cannot compete side by side their peers. One of my greatest fears is that young Nigerian graduates may eventually come out of school and may not be able to compete with secondary school students in other countries. Take a look at the COVID-19 period, the lockdown period. Private universities in Nigeria were conducting exams online. They were teaching online. Our public universities refused to key into a global digital system, when in fact we live in a country, we live in a world at the moment where the wealth of nations is calibrated into their human capital. A world where, whether we like it or not, we are in a shock of a new normal where companies will spend 80% less than what they used to spend for people to go traveling to other parts of the country to do meetings. Whoever knew that in 2009, that in 2020, we'll be able to have a meeting like this online? Typically, it would have been a physical event where we would have gathered in one room having this conversation. There are 4 things that make a nation powerful. Security, number 1, economy, number 2, population, number 3, education, number 4. Nigeria has 0 security. That's why you see SARS officials who are supposed to be paid with our taxpayers' money, harassing and victimizing citizens and young people all the time. While other nations are investing in the technology education of their young people, in Nigeria, young people who are web developers, UI, UX designers, front-end engineers, artificial intelligence engineers are being arrested wantonly on the streets by police officers whose guns are bought with our taxpayers' money. Now, so we don't have security. The other thing is also economy. What is the state of the Nigerian economy at the moment? The SMEs that power our businesses are giving loans at double-digit rates that are just not possible for them. That doesn't make it possible for them to thrive. The economic conditions in Nigeria are extremely harsh to small business owners, such that I've seen the level of migration in Nigeria, out of Nigeria, as I've never seen in my life before. All of the friends I had as at 5 years ago have all gone to Canada. And the truth is that Canada is not going to make anybody rich. Canada will give you a great job and a good environment to raise your children. What does that tell us as a country? People don't really, the aspiration of an average Nigerian is not to become a millionaire. It is to wake up and turn on the lights and it comes on. It is to open taps and it works. It is to be able to get a job because you deserve it on the strength of your own merit, not because you are the child of anybody. And the deep-seated inequalities of Nigeria is why our economy continues to struggle, because you have blue chip, you have square pegs in round holes, people without the competence and the capacity to do the work, but they are connected to somebody who then they get the job and then they're delivering half-baked, average results. The other thing is our population. Our population is meant to be our strength, because we are such a, when you think about markets, you think about, the scale of the market. People always say Nigeria is a big market. I don't think that economically Nigeria is a big market, because if you have a big market where people are living below $1 a day with very limited economic capacity to purchase anything, you are in a huge country with a large population, but you are not in a big market. When 80% of the people cannot even afford what you sell. So economically, we can't say that. But how do we leverage our population? About the people that always constantly advocate for the disunity of Nigeria. We should go our separate ways. Biafra should go to do a group. Arewa should go their way. But the truth is that I'm a student of history. And my conviction is that Nigeria will do well as one country than if we were broken into subsets of a country. The reason, a lot of people won't agree with me because they are focusing on the shenanigans of our leaders and how they've constantly used politics and religion to divide us. Let me tell you something. Every time you see people arguing about Muslims, and Christians, or every time you see people fighting over non-issues, it's a ploy, it's a deliberate ploy and strategy on the part of the political elite of Nigeria to keep us as citizens busy so that we cannot focus on important issues. When it is time for Nigerian citizens, every time I walk into America, nobody's asking me, are you Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa? As long as you are Nigerian, other Nigerians are happy to see you. The reason why people go to the 10% Church of God in Slovakia or in Alaska is because that is the microcosm of, that is the representation of a community that they have in those countries. So for us, the ordinary citizens, I don't think we're as bothered about Nigerians. And I want to encourage citizens not to allow themselves to be used as pawns in a grand agenda that does not even concern us. The truth is that the agitation of many of these folks is not about we, the ordinary people. It's about advancing certain agenda that certain people have. And my conviction, I may be wrong, I don't have to be right, but my personal conviction is that Nigeria does well on its own. The reason why I say this is, number one, think about the Yoruba people, we the Southwest, the intellectual base of Nigeria, very well read, very well traveled, very well educated. If you sit in a room and see some of the smart people there, they'll be from the Southwest. Think about the southeast of Nigeria, the southeast. The trade, commerce, and industry base of this country is in the hands of the Igbos. So the Yoruba people's intellect is not useful without the money that the Igbo people have from their trade and commerce and industry. Then go to the South and think about the oil, our mainstay as a country. What makes us a great nation, if you like, even though I don't agree, is in the South. Think about the North. 70% of the food that is consumed in this country is planted and grown in northern Nigeria. We, as it is right now, Lagos State has money, they don't have land. They have to go and partner with KB in an agreement, in an arrangement, so that they can produce lake rice. If we break into different subsets and regions and go our different ways, I don't know if we don't understand that the potential of our collective capacity is much more powerful than splitting our separate ways. And the truth is that at the end of the day, the problem of Nigeria is nothing more than leadership, whether it is leadership at the private sector or leadership at the public sector. When you get out of a road and young people go about politics perhaps the wrong way. We go about politics believing that the only things that we need to do is wait for election year and then we start to choose the right thing. What you forget is that we first need to sanitize the political parties of Nigeria, because they are the legitimate vehicles through which our aspirations as citizens can come alive. So when you are running, when you are in an election and you have only two major presidential candidates, right? You are choosing from the candidates that the parties have thrown up as our candidates. What are we, the young people, doing to ensure that we infiltrate the political parties and actually decide the quality of the candidates that political parties present to us? Potential candidates, the quality of aspirants that will we eventually metamorphose into candidates that will be presented to us in general elections. I think that's where some of our energies should go. I also want to talk about the fact that the young people who criticize the political system a lot are the ones who take money from the politicians and trend hashtags for them even when they know that they have nothing to offer. And so we cannot, pay lip service to a system that shortchanges us because it favors just a few of us. So when we think about leadership in Nigeria, we need to have a certain type of values as citizens. Because the truth is our leadership is a representation of the ordinary people of this country. When you think about who holds our leaders accountable, someone was saying to me yesterday that if you're a senator in Nigeria, you are the amount of money you spend paying for people's funerals, children's school fees, going to church, paying for contributing to building of church and mosque, cannot just it doesn't make you immune to corruption, because just the sheer amount of people that are needy in this country make it difficult for you as a politician to survive if you don't steal. Now the point that I'm making is there is no way any country will invest in education, in skills for empowerment for young people, and those young people will choose poverty and terrorism as a viable alternative. I totally disagree. For about 5 years now, and I've seen firsthand the impact of insurgency and terrorism on economies. The northeast region of this country has immense potential, and you can see what Governor Zulum in Borno is doing. He has shown that in Borno's economy has grown in the middle of this. Since the Governor Zulum became governor, Borno's economy has grown by about 2.8% or something like that. So it is the political will and the dedication on the side of the leaders. One governor is trying to risk his life to save his people. A lot of people, of course, don't like it because it's threading on certain people's interests. And so politics does matter. While all of us cannot be politicians, we want to be private sector, we want to do our own thing. Let me remind you that the quality of roads that you drive on, the potholes on your roads that your cousin drove on and died on the road, is not the job of a private company, it's the responsibility of government. The tax regimes that cripple your small businesses were not placed by private sector, they were placed by the government. The fact that you don't have healthcare facilities in your locality, such that basic malaria kills children, because certain people have stolen the money that should be used to buy drugs. It's a function of our political system. It doesn't have anything to do with you and I, the citizens of the private sector. The fact that young people cannot get admission because certain people have nominated the number of people who have there's a list that has gone, for the people that should get admission, and the smartest ones don't get admission after writing for 5 years, is a failure of our political system. So we need to fix our politics, because every other thing in this country and any other country depends on politics. Our power, our poverty, our prosperity is determined by the political regimes and the policies that our lawmakers, our government officials commit to. What about the global competitiveness of Nigeria, and how in the next 60 years, these are some of the things we should be paying attention to. First off, there's too much priority and attention on formal education. The truth is that if you think about Nigeria today, I won't pay you for the knowledge you have. I'll pay you for the service you can offer me based on the skill that you have. If you're a mechanical engineer, you have your certificate, but my vehicle, you cannot fix my vehicle. That is not, you don't earn money from what you know. Countries are not great because of what they have. Countries are great because of their technical know-how. What makes Japan or China superior to other countries is because they're investing in vocational education. While Nigeria is building new universities, we are building new universities and investing in theory, right? When China, as a country, when you look at the list of top universities in the world, you will not see China on that list. However, there's a reason why Polo Ralph Lauren designs in America and goes to produce in China. There's a reason why Apple designs in America and goes to produce in China. But in fact, Tim Cook, who's the CEO of Apple, said that if you needed tooling engineers in America, you will fill conference rooms. But if you need tooling engineers in China, you will fill football fields. And that's the reason why China is the fastest growing economy. As far back as 1978, it wasn't even a contender when it comes to economic development. And you can see China almost overtaking the United States. Why? Because they are investing in the skills of their young people and focusing their energies on the right thing. How many Nigeria we cannot be a sustainable country as a consuming economy. We don't produce any, we import toothpick into this country. We import catfish, we import eggs, we import everything. I've outsourced our critical thinking to God, to God. And one of the things that I worry most about is the concept of it is well. It is not well when we can simply do the right things. You cannot expect, if you've lived in a country that works, it's easy to do atheism outside Nigeria, because when you wake up in the morning, your water works, your light works, everything works. In Nigeria, you are praying, Father Lord, please let there be light when I get home so I can iron my shirts. So God does everything for us. Basic amenities that our government should provide, we're expecting that, oh, Father Lord, let my child get admission. My child is brilliant. He's written the exam. If we were in a country where corruption was not so rife, you should get the admission, but you start to pray because you know that Nigeria can happen to your child. And those are the fundamental issues that bedevil us as a country. The other thing is also to talk about artificial intelligence, data science, the emerging technologies that will power the future. We're in the fourth industrial revolution already, and Nigeria is only playing catch up. I think there are just about 5, aside from Rise Networks, Data Science Nigeria, maybe RAIN in Ibadan. There's only very few companies and organizations in this country teaching young people artificial intelligence. Even the African Union headquarters was built and donated by the Chinese government. And we were busy doing analysis paralysis on social media when we heard that our data is being exported back to China every night. What do we build? How do we become, a building economy, a productive economy, where we produce even the things we eat? Think about the fact that as of today, we're talking about Nigeria in the next 60 years, but I don't even think we should. In 60 years, I'll be 97. Is it impossible for me to experience a good Nigeria in my lifetime? Why are we not thinking that? I think we should begin from Nigeria in the next 5 to 10 years. the digital transformation of our private companies. Education cannot be the sole responsibility of government. Private companies need to stop paying lip service to corporate social responsibility. You cannot constantly be investing in music shows, reality shows, forgetting that you are building a generation of illiterates, all the billionaires. It is such an irony. 5 of the richest Africans come from Nigeria, yet Nigeria is the country with the highest population of poor people in the world. How's that? I think it was a few years ago that Oxfam said that the money that is in the money that would take half of Nigeria's population out of poverty is in the hands of only less than 10 people. How do people sleep at night? And you see, that's why you see, I'm a bit tired of talking about Nigeria, because talk doesn't cook rice. Because you cannot put fish into a frying pan of cold oil and expect it to fry. You need temperature. Nigeria, you need action. You cannot, we can't continue to talk about these issues. I'm a young person, but this is a struggle that I began 12 years ago. And in 2020, I'm still talking about youth development. What is our commitment to budgets? What is our education? What is our commitment to education in our national budget? I think I said last year or 2 years ago when I was in Dubai speaking at the e-learning Africa, the e-learning summit organized by the Prime Minister of the UAE. Kenya was giving 27% to education. Ghana was giving 21%. Nigeria was giving 6% as 2019. So how do you, what the private sector that has decided that they must constantly invest in entertainment, who is going to run your businesses in the next 15 years? You are going to constantly bring expatriates into the country, and it doesn't make any, when we talk about local content acts, how can you discuss local content when you don't have you don't have a capable local content? When we don't train our people, we don't invest in the skills of young people. In law, they say, Nemo dat quod non habet. You cannot give what you don't have. So, these things are very painful for me. I'm just really tired of, discussing it. We have conference. I don't see a country that does conferences as much as Nigeria does conferences. We discuss the issues, we put them in very fancy documents, design them, put them online for people to download, and that is the end. We don't implement, we don't do monitoring and evaluation. Nigeria can move forward if we don't invest in the quality of our young people. The productivity of nations is directly proportional to the quality of the human capital of that nation. So we set up so many committees, ad hoc committees, these things, in Finland, that has the best education in the world, the singular thing that they prioritize is the welfare of teachers. The people that are teachers in Nigeria are people that have looked for jobs in every other sector and didn't find, and then they end up going to teach or against their own will. I think it was the Kwara State government that did an assessment test for teachers a few years ago. Secondary school teachers who couldn't answer questions of primary school teachers who couldn't answer questions for secondary schools. Even the Bible says when the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? So for me, the key takeaways for this afternoon is that we are shortchanging ourselves by not investing in our young people. I want to talk about women before I close. The fact that Nigeria believes that it can function at 50% of its human capacity. In Nigeria today, I think our policymakers are just about an inconsequential percentage of our National Assembly. Those are the people that make laws for us. The tokenism that has trailed women participation in politics is depressing. And I always say that, number one, those women that wear anko and dance after men, I don't know how to express my opinion about them, because women are the ones who vote the most. Have Nigerian women not read about women in Liberia? When Bernice Freeman was mobilizing women in Liberia to come and vote for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the women of Liberia stole and confiscated the voters' cards of their husbands and sons and bought them beer. and went in to vote. And Ellen Johnson Sirleaf won that election. Have they never heard of stories like that? Have the women of Nigeria not heard of the women of Iceland? The country that gave us the first female president in the world. A country where women went on strike to demand equal pay. The country that first passed equal pay as a law in the world. A small country. 2060 is too far. I will be 97 in 2060. I want a country that works. And I know that it is possible if we put the right people in governance. If the private sector does not believe that their only exclusive responsibility is to make profit and declare profit at the end of the year. In America, when President Trump pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement, Michael Bloomberg paid America's share on behalf of his country. The rich men in Nigeria are so poor, all they have is money. How do you live in a country where you drive Rolls Royce, and drive brand new SUVs on roads that are terrible, and you cannot park that small road where you drive? How do you drive a Rolls Royce how do you drive a Bentley Betiga of 85 million on roads that are immotorable, inside potholes? Are you not insane? How do you keep so much money in a country where people are so poor? You know, for me, these are some of the fundamental questions we must answer. First off, as a matter of personal principle, I try not to rise when politicians come into the hall. If I'm sitting in a hall and we have to rise in a standing ovation, in recent times I've stopped doing it. Because the governor of the state, the local government chairman, they are my employees as a citizen. It is for me to sit down and they rise. They will never be in office without my vote. Nigerian citizens don't understand that there's an office that is more powerful than the office of the president, the office of the governor, right? And that is the office of the citizen of Nigeria. The fact that as a citizen, you people think that the noise you make on social media doesn't work, but have you seen the number of times that government has overturned policies they made because of the agitations on social media? What we need is an organized front. And it is not to be confrontational. It is not to be, to try to, make trouble. Our values in this country must be beyond somebody's reach. In Nigeria, they look at the sort of car you drive before they show you respect. And that is why everybody wants to steal, because the big manism of Nigeria is at the very epicenter of our problems. The big manism, the fact that we are a nation without consequences, where people do wrong things and they are rewarded. People governors steal money and they get chieftaincy titles for it. We give doctorate degrees and reward, to blatant thieves and reward bad behavior constantly. And then you can now face my generation and say that we are a generation of what legacies did you leave for us? And, when I was younger, I used to point fingers at the older folk. But even with the young, as I also grow older, I've begun to advocate for intergenerational integration, where the smart young people, an interface with the older young people. I set up an artificial intelligence lab and data science lab in this country when nobody was talking about AI. But why did I do that? Because your mobile phone is already using predictive analytics to give you the name of the last few people you called. How can Techno's biggest business in Africa come from Nigeria? Do you know that Techno's largest business base in the world is in Africa, and in Africa is in Nigeria? What are we going to do to encourage them to come and build factories here? We encourage them to build factories, but do we have tooling engineers? The engineers we graduate from our universities, do they have the capacity to compete with Chinese engineers? When we talk about skills, the education of this country cannot be the exclusive responsibility of the government. The private sector needs to move on beyond simply donating so hall to a university, to investing in curriculum revamping and curriculum development. We need a secondary school education curriculum where young people have started being taught, where artificial intelligence and ethics is a course, is a subject on its own, where we start to inculcate the spirit of responsibility and morality in our young people. we permit too extensive bad behavior in countries. In Nigeria, it is so nauseating. You see people who are stealing money, standing on TV and talking to me with their chest. And you know, young people are watching these people. The world has moved on to quantum computing, artificial intelligence, big data, data science, and Nigeria is still teaching computer science without computers. We have democracy without Democrats. We are putting a democracy where people simply think it's time for them to oppress other people. You need a curriculum that stands side by side. The curricula in China, in Japan, in America. Yes, no two economies are the same, but I don't want us to become comfortable in our dysfunction, where we outsource our critical thinking to God, rather than simply applying ourselves to situations. As I close, the analysis paralysis of Nigeria will not take us too far. You know, we've got to be able to be a country that thinks about economic growth, not in terms of, people don't eat GDP. Don't measure economic growth as a country as, you know, the increase in GDP. We must look at our economic development in terms of the improvement of the standards of living and the quality of the livelihoods of our citizens. We are still largely a very poor country. The second one is that we need to invest in security. We cannot attract foreign direct investment into this country if our security is not fixed. The third and final thing is that data is the new oil. You cannot make the right policies, you cannot make the right decisions on the public and the private sector side if we don't even know how many we are as a country. Today they say we are 180, tomorrow we are 200 million, tomorrow we are 230 million. If we don't control our narrative, the world will control it for us. And finally, the youth of this country must understand that youth is not about your age, it's a state of pending responsibility. That you're a young person is not the reason why you must point hands at the older people. If they failed us, it's our responsibility to undo it. And our generation in other countries are fixing their problems. We must understand that we have everything at our disposal. If as a generation, we built the technology industry of this country before government started paying attention. I think if we are ready to be able to fix the economy and fix the politics, it's slightly more complicated than simply building an economic industry, technology industry, but I believe that we can fix it. And finally, education. If we fix education in this country, 70% of our problems will be solved, because what you're going to have is an informed citizenry with a high depth of political literacy, that we have the level of knowledge and capacity to demand mandatory accountability from the government. And they will not start raising their hands and saying, Baba, when governors come. We have a pen and paper asking the governor questions about the promises he made when he was campaigning. When a governor knows that he's going to engage with an active citizenry in a hall, he will go there prepared to answer questions. And when public sector leaders know that citizens in Nigeria have the capacity to ask questions, they will sit up and deliver on the dividends of democracy that is signed up for. And thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so very, very much, Mrs. Toyosi Akerele Okosuji. Thank you so much. You have spoken with so much passion. Thank you. We truly appreciate your presence here today. Thank you very much. Because of time, there are questions. We will take one or two before we invite our royal father to come on. With all the challenges we are facing as a nation, what should the youths be doing right now? How can we get them to begin to trust our leaders? How can we get them to begin to be loyal to our country, Nigeria? If you can quickly take that now before we take the second question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'll just go straight to the point. I'm not sure there's anything you can do for citizens to be loyal to a country. I think we must understand that there's a trust deficit between the governed and the governing. And therefore, if you were born after 99 in this country, I'm not sure that you've really experienced the great Nigeria. my father's generation ate eggs and drank milk in this country. But the schools of this country today have no beds. I don't know how you want to build loyalty in the hearts of such children when the children of the poor, I talked about, deep-seated inequalities between the children of the rich and the poor. I come from a regular middle-class Nigerian family, okay? But I went to regular university, secondary school, I went to Egbado College, Ilaro, University of Jos. My very first time of going to school abroad was my master program in Harvard. And I don't know how you want to build loyalty in people that feel raped and battered by their government. I don't have water, I don't have lights, I cannot access loans. Do you know that the biggest investors in Nigerian technology startups in this country are foreigners? I don't really know, I don't know how to answer your question about how to build loyalty, how to build trust. I definitely know what Nigeria's government must do better. We need a government that upholds the principles of probity, transparency, and accountability. I'm the chairperson of the Victim Support Fund COVID-19 Task Force. Between March and today, we've been giving 1,832 million naira. If you go to all my social media pages, you will see the breakdown of that money, how that money is being spent, who is receiving the monies. I granted a full-page, two-page interview to this day on Sunday, answering questions. People in this country cannot be hearing about billions. You release money, you announce it. Where the money goes, they never hear about it. How do you want those citizens to trust anybody? How do you really want that? How do you want to institutionalize a new trust system between the citizens and the people governing them? How can you be the one who is put in charge of resources and you mismanage? I mentioned it earlier that I believe that there's a direct management and mismanagement. There's a direct linkage between the management and the mismanagement of resources and the institutionalization of poverty and corruption. So one of the ways that Nigeria's government can build trust is to be transparent and accountable. Don't leave citizens to guess or doubt anything. Provide information. Only the guilty are afraid. If you're not afraid of anything, you should provide information and let the citizens dissect. Those are some of the things we need. The second one is we need, alliances. Nigeria operates in too many silos. There's no continuity and sustainability in government. One governor comes today, starts a new project, another one comes, cancels it, and starts all over again. All the money that previous government spent on that project, completely wasted. And that is not how countries are meant to be run. We need a blueprint for how Nigeria needs to run and effectively function. And it is not all those fancy documents of 600 pages. Just give me a 5-page practical agenda of how to fix education, fix economy, fix security, and that should be it. In fact, I was also going to tell you that one of the reasons why there's also a trust problem in this country is the fact that there's so much lopsided relationship. There's almost a master-servant relationship between the leadership and the government. We worship our leaders, when in fact our leaders should be afraid of us. The people who serve this country, Nigeria does not reward loyalty. The man who designed the Nigerian flag is in Ibadan, living in abject poverty and penury. The heroes of this country are not honored. We don't hear about them. We've removed history from our curriculum. So people without history are people with a lost memory. Girl child education. Do you know that Saudi Arabia is putting more girls in schools? That because they are seeing that countries that are investing more in girl child education are experiencing greater developments than the ones that don't put girls in schools? Do you know that in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, 10 of the countries that responded the best and had the most, relevant containment mechanisms for the COVID-19 pandemic, those 10 countries are all led by women, all of them. What do we do with our young women in Nigeria? What do we do with the women in power? Now, society cannot hold women to a higher moral standard than men. Some people are going to tell you that, well, the reason why they didn't give a woman this position is because she stole money. I always say that every time you've seen one woman that stole money, there were 200 men before her that stole. So you cannot deprive an entire generation of women of the opportunity to contribute to national development because because one woman, committed an anomaly. So how do you build trust? You just need a simple accountability and transparent government. Kwara State government is an example. It invites civil society organizations to come and participate in the tenders and the bid process. They uncovered it yesterday that one of the roads was inflated by 104 meters. So those, I mean, we can keep talking about these issues, but honestly, it's a given if the government wants citizens to trust them. And the truth is that the benefits to the government, if citizens trust them, is enormous. Citizens will pay their tax more if they believe that the government will use it for the right things. Citizens will be responsible if they believe that the government would be equally responsible and match them halfway. I think we should be practical.
That's a question. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Toyose, it's been absolutely amazing. I really do feel your pain. I see your passion, and I pray that one day, even just because of your passion, that you'll be able to lead our youth and maybe one day become the president of Nigeria. But thank you so very much for your presentation. Without a shadow of a doubt, your passion is received, and my prayer is that the youth of Nigeria would have seen this, and it will trigger something in them that they can participate in what we call change in this country. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
So now we have, at long last, for the third time, we have His Imperial Majesty, the Ooni Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi, the Ojaja, the second of the Yoruba Kingdom of Ile-Ife. He's an advocate for the empowerment and emancipation of women and young people, and he has, in his reign, been transforming Ile-Ife into a tourist zone. Ooni Ogunwusi is also a renowned philanthropist who is committed to humanity and an advocate for the less privileged. He has granted support over the years through the House of Oduduwa Foundation and recently through the Hopes Alive initiative. We welcome you, Ooni Adeyeye. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I greet all the participants, particularly the organizers of this laudable event. Your Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, the past Governor of Cross Rivers, the General Overseer of Redeemed Christian Church, Elder Adeboye, and all the distinguished participants, I greet you all. I want to apologize because I just came out of another event, because this topical issue is very important to me, and I insist that I must participate. I want to thank Tony Cole for your support to this initiative. God bless you and bless all the works of your hands. Nigeria, as a nation, everybody in this country knows how to talk the talk. Everybody, one way or the other, they have their opinion on how to take the country to another level. But who really knows this country and the complexities of this nation? Very few. Nigeria as a nation, the most populous Black nation in the history of the world, on the surface of the earth. This country is beyond the popular and the basic cities. Nigeria is beyond Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, and few popular cities in this country. a country of almost 950,000 square kilometers, a very diverse nation, people coming together from different background, different thought process, complexities within that nation. So the issue of governing Nigeria, making Nigeria the mirror of the entire Black race, is a very high and Herculean task. What is critical is, before now, we've been talking about Vision 2020. In the 90s, we were talking about Vision 2020. But 30 years down the line, we are now in 2020. What have we achieved? That time, 20 years, 30 years was a very long time, but it came in a jiffy. The same, we're talking about Nigeria 2060. That will be pretty much another 40 years. May God keep us all alive. But it's a price everybody must pay. We cannot leave this world forever. What is critical is, what will people say when we are long gone? To me, Nigeria 2060 is around the corner. We are talking about 60 years now. But what I want to say critically is, great nations, if we do peer review, I'll pick a country that we all know as one of the greatest nations in this world. United States of America. That country emerged post Second World War. If you look at that nation 30, 40 years ago, they've had their challenges too. That 30 years ago, New York is dirtier than even our typical Lagos, Nigeria. It's very easy for all of us to talk the talk, but to walk the talk is not a Herculean task. What is critical for us as a nation? I have been very opportune to be a traditional ruler. That is when I realized that indeed we're the closest to our people. Every day in this palace, and on behalf of all the traditional rulers of this country, we're extremely close to our people. We celebrate them every day. We know the good, the bad, and the ugly in our system. At some point, we were very involved in governance in this country. But one way or the other, we were expunged from our constitution. We have our role to play. Our ancestors, they left this various kingdoms when there was nothing like boundaries in Africa. Boundaries in Africa started in 1884. At some point, it used to be one big happy family with respect and honor to different territories and nations that actually occurred naturally. But what we've been given as a nation is the artificial boundary of Nigeria. What should be our focus is how best we can get the best actually out of the country. Our country needs refreshment, and that's the truth. We're using a medium to communicate within one another now. Even our computers Our phones need refreshment, needs to hibernate. At some point, we need to put it off, remove the battery, and start all over again. It is stupidity to control and expect a different result. We will continue to get the same result. Everybody has solution to this country. But what is critical and what is fundamental is we need diversification. We need diversification from governance. We need diversification from even the governed. And we need diversification from the mainstay of our economy. Everything in Nigeria needs diversification. We need to refresh as a nation. But we can only talk the talk. Who is championing this cause? That's the reason why I like initiatives like this. We have to talk and do the work as well at the same time. So many people will just sit down in their four corners and start to cast and asperse blame to leaders. They've not even traveled far and wide of this country. You ask them, have they been to as far as Kogi State or as far as Niger State? They haven't been outside Lagos and they want to talk about Nigeria. They haven't even been to several parts of Igbo land. And you go there to Niger State to ask some certain people, they have not even been to Lagos, not to even talk of Abuja. So we all must come together to work towards this goal of refreshing this country. Nigeria needs refreshment. We need diversification in every aspect of our nation. Let us stop the blame game. We all know our problems. We know it clearly. I just gave you an example, Vision 2020, in the late 80s and 90s. Now, 30 years after, like yesterday, it has happened. Now these people are talking of Nigeria in 2060, 40 years down the line, it will come. It will just come again. Are we going to continue like this? The truth be told, our nation needs to look at our strength and our comparative advantage. Our strength is the teeming youth. The demography of this country is very driven towards the youth. Over the last 20 years, we have actually quadrupled in our population. Over the last 20 years, a lot of youth have emerged in different strata of our economy, both the governed and governance. Who is celebrating them? That is clearly the future of this nation. We have them in different form of ideas, coming up with a lot of initiatives. You can only print money. It will destroy at some point, but you can only create value. Everybody is all about money. There is a clear difference between wealth and money, riches and money, wealth and money. Wealth is in your state of mind. Capacity of wealth is in your state of mind. We need to instill that wealth in the teeming youth of this country. Nobody celebrates them. Nobody celebrates them. One of them just spoke, and I was very opportune to meet with her. A lady, Toyosi, just spoke. That's how a typical Nigerian youth is fired up. Who is celebrating them? They are in their millions. They are moving the way the world is moving. The way the world is moving now, it is very astronomical. In geometric progression, we are not moving with the way the world is moving. It's about time for them to understand the demography of this country, for them to know that the strength and what is called the leadership they carry is not in their hands. They are just custodians. They need to rally around this youth that are fired up. They call them all sorts of names. They call them, they are so much in a hurry. The world is in a hurry right now. You have to follow the trend of Nigerian youth and the world youth at large. That is the strength of our nation. What are we instilling in them? I want to see a nation where we will have people coming out in their 20s to aspire to be governors. I want to see this great nation, people coming out in their 30s to challenge our leaders because they are fast. We know that they are fast, but the country belongs to them. We are not celebrating them enough. Go to every religious center. 8 out of 10 people you will see there are youths. Go to anywhere, go to political grounds, political campaigns, you rarely find very old people in their 70s in political grounds. You will find on the average, the 30s and 40s, they have a lot of bust up energy. They are the ones that have the energy to take this country to another level. They have the positive energy, they have the negative energy. God created both positivity and negativity. They work hand in hand. But we need to know how to separate the corn from the chaff. It's about time for us to first of all understand this country, for us to stop talking the talk. Let us restructure their nation. Restructuring is diversification. Let us diversify from the way we have been doing things. I believe strongly in reducing the power from the center. Let everybody develop every sector, every region at their pace. It's going to help us as a nation. We have tested it before. It has worked for us. Most achievements we are sitting on right now has been the achievement during regional government of this country. It is very important for us to diversify governance of our nation. It is very important for us to diversify for a monoproduct economy. Everything needs diversification. Our brain, our thought process, our sense of reasoning even needs diversification as a nation. Everybody wants to be the governor of Lagos State. They don't even know what the governor goes through. Everybody wants to be the president of this country. They don't even know what they go through. They will sit down and criticize them and keep pushing blame and pushing blame and pushing blame. Let us understand the structure and fundamentals of our nation. What is obtainable in Kano is not obtainable in Lagos. What is obtainable in Anambra is not obtainable in Sokoto. Let us use that diversity to be our greatest strength. It is very important for us to know that we have to work towards peer review mechanism. What is obtainable in Sokoto should be a benchmark to review what is happening in Lagos. What is obtainable in Anambra should be a peer review for what is going to happen in Osun. We are blessed as a nation. Everybody is saying the South has been the supporter of this nation. The food basket of this nation is still the North. A lot of people don't even know that they've discovered so much in the North right now. In the North, Gongola Basin is full of crude oil. Chad Basin is full of crude oil. Gombe Basin is full of crude oil. The northern part of this country, we've discovered as a nation the biggest and the largest deposit of gold reserves in the world. Without coltan, we cannot communicate as we are communicating. That is one of the extractive product God has given us as a nation. It is just sitting there. The monoproduct is what we're talking about. The arrogance and the toga of arrogance has gotten to some area, some region in this country, that they are the only one providing for this nation. I don't belong to that school of thought. Every role to play as a nation. The diversity of this nation should be our strength. I want to employ whoever that is saying that should travel wide and far. One single state in the north, if they take the entire southeast and south-south into that state, it will subsume it. Two states combined, the region of southwest in the north, only two states combined together will subsume the entire region. The landmass is there. It is good for so many things. What we should do is should all sit down, the leaders of this country, let us refresh this nation. That is the point I'm hammering on, and I'm hammering on it. We need the refreshment. Refreshment, that means diversification. Every corner, every square meter of this country has a role to play, so that we will talk very well and walk towards the talk for Nigeria 2060. 2060 is around the corner. Whoever that is thinking 2060 is far, you are joking. You are all joking. That's just 40 years to come. 40 years to come. Let us hold this country by the jugular. We all have to hold our nation together and take it to another level. It's very important for all of us to know that the more we criticize our nation constructively, the better for all of us. The more we celebrate these youths, the better for all of us. I've taken it upon myself. Every year, I celebrate the first 100 youths that I've actually picked across Nigeria. Every year, I celebrate them, and I take them all over the world where I can take them to within the confines of what I can do in my capacity. Every day, I have been able to endear a lot of youths to our heritage, to our tradition and culture. Every day, I have on the average over 6 million youths following all my activities on this throne of my forebears. Let us pick it one after the other. Anything anybody can do, let us do it. It's about time for us to celebrate the widest and the biggest demography of our nation. The future belongs to them. The day Nigerian youths come together, they will unseat every leader in this country. And that's the truth. The day they wake up to their strength, money cannot buy it. Once they wake up to their strength, they will unseat anybody they want to unseat. The future of this country is in their hands because of we have given them the demography naturally as a nation. So it's about time for us to hand over this nation to them naturally. God bless these organizers, and God bless all the participants, and God bless our dear nation, Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. My Kabiesi, what can I say? What can I say? What can I say? You know, many times we get to meet, many times we sit down, and if there is one thing that I am certain about, it has always been that your passion, your love for Nigeria, your belief in Nigeria's future and the success of Nigeria has never been in doubt, never been in doubt. I remember you calling me one day and saying to me that, Tony, I have been watching you for a long time. You don't know. I have been watching you for a very long time. And what endeared me to you, what you said, was one thing, that you believed 100% that there was a sincerity in my heart for Nigeria. That was what connected me to you. Had we not had this same care for Nigeria, I'm not sure we would even be sitting down here today talking. And I know for certain that when you speak with the authority of one who hears from heaven. You don't speak carelessly. You do not speak carelessly. That much we know. We have a rapport and we have spoken. And what we're talking about into our future is extremely important now, because there are so many things you said. You said things about handing over to the next generation now, today. My sister Toyosi, who I have known, we've grown together on this pain and this journey for Nigeria. She's still here. When I spoke to her a few weeks ago regarding this, she said, Uncle Toye, I am tired of talking about Nigeria without action. We need to move. We need to fight. We need to move. Nigeria has a lot to offer, and we know it. And so I just want to say thank you very, very much to everybody who has been a part of this. You know, to the participants, many of them have been here from 11:30. They came in and they stayed throughout. We have had an average without fail, an average of about 440 going up at one time to over 580, who have been here listening patiently. And what has been said has been beyond just mere rhetorics. Today, sir, a lot has been said about not just restructuring. When Daddy Adeboye was speaking, what he put down was a new vision as to how we can make it happen. And he was speaking that I'm not a politician, I'm just the father, spiritual leader of a nation. But he was speaking to a generation, a new generation, you, the participants that are here. And what he was saying to you is that it is in your hands, not in anybody's hands, in your hands to make Nigeria work. That when we're talking about 2060, which is 40 years, most of us speaking to you will be either too old or dead. You will be no place to make anything happen. But we have every right today to make it happen. My KBSC has said something. He said, if you know the power you have in your hands, if you can come together, which tallies with what Toyosi said, that we cannot be working in silos. And if we can come together, you as the youth, if you stand, you bring yourself together, there's nothing you cannot achieve. Nothing. Dr. Obi spoke very eloquently about fixing politics. And the only way to fix politics is you. I have loved the participants here, sir. Kabiyesi, I've loved them. The reason why is because they have not minced words. The things they don't like, they've said it immediately. I don't believe what this person is saying. I don't agree with this one. The ones that have been right, they said, well done, thank you. I agree with this point. They have been very engaged. To those of you here, thank you for being so engaged. But it is one thing to be engaged. It's another thing to go for action. A lot of you have spoken your heart, and we are waiting to see the action. His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, thank you very much. He was asked a question specifically about why politics always brings in round pegs for square holes. Why do we never have the right people in place? He was put on the spot as a politician to answer that question. He answered it and he said something very clear, that it is in the hands of our generation today, KBC, the youth that follow you, that it is in their hands to get engaged in politics today. They cannot be blaming anybody. You know that I had to leave everything so that I can jump into politics because of conversations you and I had. You and I had this conversation, and we had to make a decision that we cannot continue talking, but we have to move. And the only reason why we did it, sir, for all of the youth here, is so that we can be forerunners to open a door to allow the youth to flood in. My sister Toyosi went all the way to the Harvard Kennedy School, so that she can hone her skills in serving as a servant leader. The reason being that Nigeria is critical. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been extremely blessed today. We've had spiritual leaders come and speak to us about what we can do today to ensure that the tomorrow of our dream is done. We've had past political leaders and current political leaders telling us the same thing, that it does not matter how long we're coming or where we're going. What matters is really you, our audience, you, the citizen. We talked about the office of the citizen. From a civil servant, from someone who has worked as a public servant, who has served Nigeria, who has served at the global level. And she said something clear: fix politics. Fix politics. But she also said that to fix politics, they need you, the citizen, nobody else, you, the citizen, to enhance how we do it. The reason why you are important, is this. A US ambassador said to me once, he said, all politicians, all of them, regardless of which nation, they are afraid of something. They all operate in fear. And what are they most afraid of? They said they are most afraid of you. And as long as you do not realize that they are afraid of you, they will ride over you. And that's why they buy your votes, because they are afraid to allow you to vote. That's why they steal and cancel your votes, because they are afraid to allow you to express yourself. That's why they feed you, they don't educate you. Because as Toyosi said, an educated mind will ask questions, will not stand up when politicians come in when they don't have anything to offer. You are their greatest fear. And any leader that is afraid of being accountable does not deserve you. Doesn't deserve you. At 11:30 on the dot, this webinar started. The speakers had been told to start at 12 o'clock. The waiting room was open and people started coming in. Immediately, a gentleman came up and said, you were meant to start at 11:30. Why have you not started? I said back to them that, I'm sorry, speakers are coming at 12 o'clock. He came back immediately to say, I did not come to start at 12. I came to start at 11:30. That this is the problem with Nigeria. Same old, that you are not accountable. You see, that kind of dialogue is what leaders need. And I went back to them and I said, no, I'm sorry about that. I agree and I apologize that you came in. However, this was what we had said to the speakers, and I guarantee you our speakers will come at 12. But that between 11:30 and 12 was for participants to come in so that when speakers come, they will not have an empty room to speak. But it was a dialogue. I don't know whether he accepted it or not, but it made me accountable to the actions that we took. Have you seen the leaders that we called today? His Excellency, Donald Duke, 5 minutes to 12 was there. The governor, 5 minutes to 12 or 3 minutes to 12 had come in, sat and ready. Dr. Obi, on time. Every single person, you also came in I saw when you came in at the time allotted to you, before I got a call from your office that you had to run off for an emergency and that you will come back. You did not have to do that. You did not have to keep us informed, but you did at your level. I was informed all the time about when you are coming, where you're going, and what time you will be there. And when you said you will be sat, you were sat patiently. And these are the leaders that I know and I respect. So I just want to say thank you very much, sir. I can go on and on, but I believe that Nigeria's future begins now. So my Kabiyesi, once more, thank you very much. Thank you. Soon I will see you again and we'll continue our discussions on Nigeria. There's one thing, sir, I know you missed this part and I want to repeat it to you because you were out at the time that Daddy Gio came and mentioned this part of it, and I hope you heard it. But he said that one of the fundamental problems that must be corrected is that the respect for our royal fathers must be put back in. You and I have had that conversation. And you know what it means to us, that in the Nigeria of tomorrow, or more, the Nigeria of today, the respect of our royal fathers must come in. It must happen. And I guarantee you, sir, that in our lifetime, it will happen. It will happen. It will happen. And so with that, let me hand back over to the studio so that they can just round up. And God bless every single one of you participants for joining us. We will live to see the Nigeria of our dreams. God will help us. In Jesus' name, amen. Studio, back to you, Deji.
To stand wherever we are to honor our country, Nigeria, by singing the national anthem. Shall we rise up?
Please let us rise to sing the national anthem of Nigeria. Thank you very much. We apologize once more about the studio sound. Studio sound has not been very good, and some people are complaining about that. But that notwithstanding, thank you very much for an excellent evening. And the link has gone out on YouTube to those who are asking. If you go onto the YouTube and Facebook channels, you will see the recording there. It will be pasted there so that you can have access to it over and over and over again. So this is from us at Nehemiah Leadership Institute and Redeemed Christian Church of God. We want to say thank you very much. God bless you and good night. Thank you.